missed the train, stood in line as I watched it ride away. Tried to smile, but it's getting hard to fake. Living every single day in the rain, in the rain. But there you were, like a ray of light shining from afar, like a spotlight lighting up the dark. Living every single day like a star, like a star. I used to be so blind, but you've opened up my eyes.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and just jump straight into this because I don't know how the go live button works. So we're here. Welcome in, everybody. I am Lemon Pops. This is my channel, as you may know. And I'd like to welcome you all into the 4th Cities in a Snap speed build competition. This one's going to be the best yet, by far, hands down. We've got an absolute all-star cast coming on for this. Imperial Jedi, Jjamjim, KRX, and Ezilii all competing off in this one. And it's going to be, yeah, there are mods allowed. There are mods, assets, anything they want to use off the Steam Workshop. We ended up having to make a last-minute change, though, due to some issues with the map. So the players on this one are going to be using Wolf Creek as their starting grid for this build-off competition. We were going to use a user-submitted map, and I'd like to do that in the future. But in this particular case, we were having some issues getting the players loaded in, and I had to make a little bit of an executive call there. Leader of Monkeys, yeah. Have you ever had Leader of Monkeys? You know, Leader of Monkeys said they weren't interested in this. So I did ask them to come on, or ask her to come on, but she said it wasn't really her thing. So that's okay. You know, she's always welcome to come on in the future. She knows where to find me. But let's go ahead and introduce our judges here. So cutting over to our judges right now, we've got Slayer, who is somebody you've all seen here before. He's been a judge for this, I believe, 3 times now.
Yeah, this is number 3.
Number 3. Amazing, dude. Amazing. Sorry, that sounded like really sarcastic. I just realized that Twitter captured on your camera.
You made it 3 times, yeah.
Yeah, 3 times. Fantastic. And also welcoming back today, Eddie, who is aka Nerve Gas in Twitch chat. He is a city planner from the city of Los Angeles. So he is sort of our resident expert on how cities function in real life, and he's going to be here talking to us a little bit about that as we go through this event. So the format for this event is we have 4 competitors, as we previously mentioned: KRX, Ezilii, Imperial Jedi, and Jjamjim. They're all going to be building off on the exact same map, using any assets available in the Steam Workshop, any mods, any assets, anything they want to do to make this happen. And yeah, they're given 2 hours to come up with the most creative build they can. And it's going to come down to you guys to see really who wins here today. We're also going to be giving away a free copy of City Skylines as well. So stay tuned for that. We'll be doing that towards the end of the stream. And all the other streamers are as well. So make sure to go check them out here today. Check out all 4 of the other streamers. Enter in their giveaways as they do them. Enter in mine and get a chance to win this game for free. Maybe even more than once if you're sneaky enough. So, yeah. Eddie, how you been, man?
Doing pretty good. Doing good. My second one, yeah. So pretty excited to see having 4 competitors this time. See what they all do. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the first full-fledged event that we're going to be having for this. So I'm hoping it's everything that we hoped it to be. And I mean, we couldn't ask for a better cast. Like, I don't know if you know who Imperial Jedi is or Ezilii or any of these other guys, but these are some of the biggest guys in the game. Yeah. So
not so much. I haven't actually watched a lot of the City Skylines streams. I watch mostly on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I'm excited. This should be interesting to see.
Cool. And Slayer, any final words before we finally get this kicked off?
Oh, I'm curious to see. We've got three folks that I think play relatively similar in their builds, at different paces and different levels of detail. And then you got Ezilii, the wild card, coming in with a detail aspect, heavy detail background. So I'm excited to see what they all come.
So does Jjamjim, Imperial Jedi, and KRX? And I mean, I noticed KRX doesn't really focus on detail too much, but I haven't really watched Imperial Jedi. Does he do any detailing?
It's a variation. I think there's levels to it. I would say KRX and Jedi build relatively similar. I think I want to say Jedi does a little bit more plopping of assets.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that's a like a smaller difference between those three. But I'm very, very interested to see kind of how this comes out because I feel like they have similarities, but they also have some differences. So,
Well, it will be interesting to see how these players tackle this here today. So for everybody out there, we're gonna go ahead and get this kicked off and get this started because we are running a little bit behind schedule. I don't want to keep you guys here all day. Mods out there, are you ready to go tell them that it's start time, it's go time? I see Cuboid in here. Welcome in, dude. You're ready? Jen, you're ready? Excellent. Excellent. All right. Well, we're going to count down here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go. There we go. Clock has started. 2 hours on the clock for these folks. And yeah, Jedi looks less than prepared right now. He's off checking out screenshots. But there we go. It looks like the players have been notified. Well, if KRX is in there, is KRX's okay. Okay. Cool. They are
everybody's moving.
Everybody's moving. Excellent. So what are you hoping to see here this time, Eddie?
Well, last time we had some pretty interesting layouts. The last time I think that what was with that ring world that we had.
Yeah. I built that ring city.
Yeah, which was kind of interesting. You know, I mean, one of the last time we were talking about mixed use districts. So that was one of the big things that City Skylines I think doesn't do is allowing you to kind of have commercial with residential mixed together because that's really where the push is in planning. To reduce, the footprint of cities.
I see.
Make them and reduce reliance on cars, right? So everyone kind of wants to push towards using either mass transit and then using like walking or bike riding to kind of do the last mile, first mile problem.
Mm-hmm. So Slay, didn't they just recently put in mixed use buildings into Skylines?
Depends. I mean, you've always been able to make buildings mixed use, so that's my background, right? Like being able to take like, you're talking about like an apartment that has like a bottom level of commercial.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you've always been able, like, I mean, I say always, but for as long as I've played, you've been able to like to throw in, lower floors in terms of assets, and place, commercial elements that are below like a residential, right? There's a way to make that happen. It takes some mods.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where most of the projects that you'll see like in the city, they're all mixed use development, right? That's what the push is for. And again, like I said, that's mainly to kind of reduce reliance on vehicles, because one of the biggest issues that cities are facing is smog and global warming and things like that. And so to reduce reliance on cars, you can definitely do that with mixed use, very well planned out mixed use developments and also mixed use districts. So having areas where you have walkable spaces in between the buildings, you have buildings that tie together, themes that kind of make sense.
Well, I'll say this. I live in the Atlanta area, and we one really cool project that they did was when they moved the Atlanta Braves. They built the Battery of Atlanta, and it is all mixed use. And that was the design, right? They have a stadium, a concert venue, and then some restaurant stuff like that. And then above that is all condos and apartments. So it's a very interesting, like very modern take on a mixed use space, because you could basically do everything you want there, right? And just have your car to go to work down the road. But everything you could possibly need is in that one spot.
Yeah, and I'm actually originally from Dallas, and so the new Texas Rangers stadium is kind of the same way. It's a big development that's centered around the stadium, but you have residential, you have a lot of different commercial uses. They've added easier access for mass transit. That if you can take a train to get where you're going, and then you just either if it's walkable distance, it makes it much easier.
Right. That's often a challenge too with this game, especially as you start to build up a lot of your population in a center point. For instance, like your downtown is typically going to be heavily populated, obviously, right? And then if you have suburbs and people are driving to work, you can really you have to have some infrastructure in place for sure.
I'm watching Jedi. What is he building?
It looks like some crazy interchange.
Yeah, somebody in chat just mentioned that he's doing a left-hand drive in respect to our original European map that didn't end up loading for Ezilii. Yeah, I saw Kiki in chat. And by the way, everybody, welcome into the stream too. I know we got a lot of fresh faces in here and a lot of people coming back that I haven't said hi to yet. So thank you guys for the follows. Thank you for coming in. Appreciate you watching. Yeah, but that said, that was supposed to be a left-hand drive, and that's something the Imperial Jedi talked about before the stream even started, was that he had really been looking forward to doing a left-hand drive map. So what do you think the differences are in challenges when designing a city with left-hand drive versus right?
I mean, as long as the basis for the city starts with left-hand drive, it really isn't that much different than right-hand drive. I mean, it's just, I mean, you look at is it Hong Kong? Yeah, Hong Kong. So Hong Kong is left-hand drive, but the rest of China drives on. So they had some interesting challenges on how to link Hong Kong to the rest of mainland China. There's actually a switchover bridge. So you start off driving on the right side of the bridge, and as you go through the middle of it, it actually switches you over to a left-hand drive.
Well, that's confusing.
Yeah. So, well, and the reason for that is because Hong Kong was a British colony, and the Brits drive on the left. So they just stuck to the traditional left-hand drive in Hong Kong, but the rest of the country, for whatever reason, never. They just did their own thing and went right-hand drive.
That is interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I forget the name of the bridge, but it's this huge crossover bridge, and it takes you from right-hand drive to left-hand drive, which is kind of interesting.
Huh. I'm going to have to look that up at some point. I wonder, I bet you they have an asset for that bridge somewhere in this game.
I'd be surprised if they didn't have it. Yeah.
There's so many.
I'm still trying to figure out why Jedi's doing 5 loops.
I have a feeling, and this is just my guess, is that it's going to be some extremely elaborate interchange with something in the middle to be like just like a hallmark of the city, like something you come in, maybe like a statue or something like that. And this
that makes sense.
I don't know how he's going to build off of this though. I don't know. I see JJ's over there building a canal. So he's got a canal running through part of where I assume he's going to build off of the river.
And it looks like Ezilii is just working on getting the main interchange into the highway system worked out. Right.
It's kind of interesting how the different maps look too. Like it's the same map for everybody, but you notice the color schemes are different. The LUTs are completely different. It always impresses me how much you can change this game just by adding those additional assets. Or different mods.
Yeah. I mean, in addition to that, like theme mixer is a big one, right? So you can start changing like the different textures that are on the ground and altering color that way, and on top of having a LUT, and then you can reduce fog, and it's very customized.
It's beautiful though. It is beautiful.
Certainly, yeah.
I mean, that's one of the reasons I love this game. God, Jjamjim, he's doing a lot of remodeling of the base roads and base railway. And see, this is one of the things that I guess I kind of wanted to avoid, was having I didn't want anybody to have any experience on the maps, because like we've all played this game. If we've played the map before, we kind of already have an idea in our heads of like where we built before, how we wanted to build, how it didn't come out right. And so one of the key features here that I thought that was pretty interesting was being able to come in with a completely blank slate. But on the flip side of that, right now, we're getting an opportunity to see these players build on a familiar terrain. And that creates its own sort of unique dynamic for it, too. And that we can see these players really begin to excel and sort of adapt to the 2-hour time limit, but still create something pretty amazing on a more familiar space.
Well, and on top of that, you can kind of see the wildly different, build style. And like you said, being familiar with the map itself allows them to kind of be more creative with what they're doing rather than trying to figure out the map at the same time.
Very true. Very true. And I like that canal that Jjamjim through. You call him JJ? Is that what he goes by?
I just call him JJ. Yeah. He might hate it. I don't know.
Well, we'll call him Jjamjim just to avoid like triggering him. He's gonna come back and watch this VOD, I'm sure, and we'll I don't want to be the one. You call him whatever you want to call him, but Jim's fine.
I've met him in person, so I'm gonna do the JJ.
Okay, yeah, you met him in person. I mean, he seems like a super chill guy. But like, I have only talked to him a few times, but he's been super cool.
He's an awesome dude. We actually met at TwitchCon. I was also met Ezilii and Imperial Jedi at TwitchCon.
Oh, really?
And you briefly. We ran into each other in passing.
We did? Yes, we did.
Yeah, it was very cool. I was headed to something, and I think you were waiting on someone. We were just like cross paths.
Yeah, that's totally right. I totally forgot about that. Because I was like, man, that's too bad we didn't meet down there. I met so many people there, dude. Yeah. It was a fog. The whole trip was a fog. I was going from meetup to meetup to meetup. It was insane. I feel bad now. Like, who are you again? I don't know. It wasn't like so that.
Fast. It was like, hey, good to see you.
Yeah, I think it was like 2 minutes of handshake and a photo op or something like that. But yeah, it's pretty beautiful cities. Ezilii starting out here pretty strong. It looks like it's hard to tell when they're all zoomed in like this. This is something I've noticed doing these competitions. It's kind of hard to tell their overall plan early on until they start getting to the bigger portions of the city. But looking there, Imperial Jedi trying to work that roundabout system in. And the railway, what's he got going on above there?
I'm not even sure. He's so zoomed in. I'm trying to figure out how this is going to operate. Oh, so he's going to close up some of those like weird curves I see.
Yeah, that's creating some weird lumps.
That is intense, Jedi. Wow.
His whole city is going to fit right there. Just wait.
Yeah,
he's going to pull a Yed.
Yeah, that's kind of what it looks like he's doing. I mean, roundabouts are a great tool for traffic movement. Just simply because you don't have to, stop and start.
Mm-hmm.
You just yield into the roundabout, so it kind of improves flow. But I'm not sure how 5 roundabouts work together.
I mean, doing simple American math here, I would definitely say 5 roundabouts work 5 times better.
Right?
Yeah. And there's slip lanes on all of them. Yeah. If your roundabout doesn't have enough roundabout, then you need more roundabout.
A certain rapper would agree with you. If anyone remembers that meme, I know I'm aging myself a little bit there.
I wish I could say I did. I'm gonna be the ignorant one here and just admit it. Exhibit?
Yeah, so he hosted this TV show where they would do car mod. And
okay. Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Yeah. Yo, I heard you like swimming pools, so I put a swimming pool in your swimming pool.
So you could swimming pool while you swimming pool.
Yep, that one. I know the one.
That's the one. So kind of his roundabout theory, I think, follows sort of the exhibit rule of roundabouts. Just more roundabouts.
So what you're saying is Imperial Jedi is the exhibit of city skylines.
At the moment, I would definitely agree with you on that one, yeah.
Pimp my ride, exactly, Lomi. Just to explain the voting, because, I don't think I was very clear on that. We are going to have the judges pick the top 2 players, so it's going to come down to that. They're going to decide who the top 2 are, and then the audience is going to vote to see which one of those 2 wins. So if you're in the audience, you'll definitely want to be paying attention to all these players, and definitely go check out their cities as well. Because ultimately it's going to come down to your decision as to who actually wins this competition. But really, we all win because we all get to watch this. We all get to enjoy their beautiful content, and their beautiful cities, and hey, possibly even win a game.
Yeah, we got. I see JJ's expanding the canal system here. He just built another one.
Yeah, he just added the water to it.
Yeah, he's speeding it up so that the water goes ahead and fills the space up there. And Jedi did all the roundabouts, and now he's breaking off into a little bit of a grid system, and he's starting. I think he's looking at assets to pull. I'm curious to see when KRX is going to start zoning, because I know we've talked about that a little bit, Lemon, the last couple times, because I know he was beating himself up a little bit the first time.
Mm-hmm.
He was in the competition because it took him a little bit to get going on the zoning part. And I think he sped it up a little bit, but he does a lot of his road layout. So all he has to worry about, like in the second hour, is just the.
Yeah, just putting in the actual zoning. We haven't really talked about him too much here. And I realized that might be because we forgot name tags on these players. So just for anybody watching the stream right now, Imperial Jedi, obviously the one bottom left with his big Imperial Jedi top right now is KRX. And yeah, KRX is going for something I'd say a little bit different than he has in the past, because he has done some heavy terraforming in the last one. And geez, even the previous one, it seemed like he did a little bit more groundwork before he started getting to his roads. But here this time, he's just going straight into it. So from a city plan, I'm trying to come up with these awesome caster questions off the cuff here, so bear with me, Eddie. But anytime you want to cut in with any sort of details about the city or comparing it to real life cities, feel free, man.
Well, so KRX is definitely following more of a traditional grid layout system, sort of an east-west, north-south type of layout, which is what you see a lot of American cities do, right? So they tend to be grids. They're easier to navigate because you kind of know where you're going, but they also tend to create a lot more traffic congestion because you have all of these intersections that you now have to have either a light system or stop signs or what have you to control traffic. And so that's where the term gridlock comes from, right? So
didn't realize that.
Yeah, so gridlock
makes total sense.
Yeah, exactly. Gridlock is termed because grids tend to create these funnel points that are difficult to get through. Which is why in European cities you see a lot of roundabouts, you see a lot of, well, of course in European cities you also see a lot more walkable type scenario. You see less vehicle traffic because those cities were built back before vehicles were a thing. So they don't have the ability to expand their road system to accommodate larger vehicles.
I see.
So and I also, to
go ahead.
On to what you just said, I know too, I read something talking about like why we don't have as much infrastructure for like trains and whatnot, and why that never became popular too, is because a lot of companies shut down or like helped break down like the old train systems that were in place, like in towns like trolleys and whatnot, because like, they wanted people to buy cars, they wanted people to buy oil. So like
That's very true.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I didn't know that. But that's why we don't have a lot of the infrastructure that like Europe has.
Yeah, so like LA is a good example. So LA had a very extensive streetcar system. You could basically get around the valley, you could get around the main sort of basin area down into like Orange County, and it was all by. But companies like the big oil companies and as well as the auto manufacturers, they're actually the ones that invented jaywalking. I don't know if you were aware of that.
No.
Jaywalking wasn't a thing until car manufacturers basically convinced cities that having people walk in the street was dangerous because all of a sudden their vehicles were hitting people. So instead of turning public opinion against the car manufacturers, they turned public opinion against walking, around your city like you would have done, in any European city. So it was actually the car manufacturers that got rid of streetcars, that got rid of pedestrian access across the streets.
That's very interesting. Yeah, I had no idea that car manufacturers played a hand in that. I'd heard some like conspiracy theories on, them shutting down hydrogen cars and stuff like that, but I'd never heard anything confirmed by somebody like that. So that's very interesting that they did that.
Well, if you ever look at like old school pictures of cities, especially like Main Street or like downtown areas, you saw people, cars walking around everywhere, right? Like it's
it was everywhere.
Right. So they because people were starting to get hit by vehicles, they basically like I said, convinced cities that jaywalking was a thing, and that's where we are today.
Hey, there's a good question in chat. So Americans seem to enjoy making bigger cars. Is that because our roads are bigger?
That's part of it, I'm sure.
Yeah. And egos.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always considered it too. It's sort of like a status thing. You know what I mean? It's like somehow like tied into like social status in some way. You got to have like
the biggest watch and the biggest
you got to have the big Suburban. You can't have the little, maybe you don't want the Tahoe. Maybe you want the Suburban, a little more space for nothing.
For your 7 kids.
Oh, yeah.
For your skis to go,
yeah.
Take everyone to soccer.
Well, and the bigger car thing, you can thank like Cadillac and companies like that, and the post World War II era in the U.S. for turning the vehicle into sort of this status symbol, right? Same thing with everyone owning a house, everyone having a vehicle in their garage was sort of the American dream that these companies sort of pushed out.
How much do you think World War II had an impact on that? as opposed to like other factors in American culture.
Well, I think, because right before that you had the Great Depression, right? So the
Mhm.
late 30s, everyone sort of didn't have anything, and so you all of a sudden you had all these soldiers returning home who, could afford to get a house, could afford to buy a car, and so they really pushed that consumerism in the early post-war era. It's also why we have the baby boomers, right? So they all, all these guys coming back from the war, and all of a sudden you had a massive spike in birth rate.
Yeah, that's true too. I mean, the baby boomer culture, that's 100% a real thing. Boomers. That was a major population jump in the United States, as well as a lot
Well,
of other social issues that arose from that. But yeah,
and now they're aging out. So
catnip.
now you have boomers that are, now aging into the geriatric population and just putting a strain on the healthcare. They're not ready for that number of people to, be aging into the system.
Yeah, and I really feel like a lot of our cities weren't designed with the size of population in mind that we've hit. How are cities preparing for the next 100 years to sort of prevent the same kind of congestion issues from happening now? Is it just through alternative transport methods, or do they have other plans for the actual roads?
So California is actually in a huge problem right now. The housing stock that they have now is much lower than where so when we say housing stock, those are available units, right? So units that can be rented out or purchased. They're already in the hole, and they are not planning for enough capacity to meet up with population growth.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big issue right now, and especially in California. And like Los Angeles is a good example. They don't have anywhere else to go, right? It's a completely built out environment. And they have terrain constraints that don't allow them to expand outwards. You have cities like Las Vegas, you have cities like Dallas, Atlanta. They have these big flat open areas where they don't have to build up; they can just build out.
Mm-hmm.
But then politics comes into play when you're talking about building up, because you have to tear down the smaller density stuff to increase density, and people aren't necessarily willing to do that. And so there's this sort of politics side to city planning that a lot of people don't realize.
Yeah, I can definitely have a huge impact. I mean, I've heard one specific story. I think it was in Los Angeles, where a shopping mall was purchased with the intent of it becoming a not a homeless shelter, but a subsidized living environment of some kind for people who were low income or didn't have housing. And because of the type of population that brings, the developer who purchased the land only made it through the teardown stage before it was shut down by protests from the local people, who said they weren't consulted on this. And now it's been like 2 or 3 years that it's been sitting there abandoned. I'm sure it's not an uncommon story, but
So that sounds like California.
yeah, yeah.
Sure. I mean, I'm not sure if it's LA, if it's LA specifically, but that definitely sounds like something that would happen in California. And one of the interesting things about the people always talk about the homeless crisis in LA.
Mm-hmm.
The fact is, like 80% of the homeless population are native Los Angeles. These are not transplants from other states. These are not transplants that come from other places. These are people who are being priced out of housing in their own city. And part of that, part of the issue that creates that is housing stock, right? Not having enough capacity to meet population demand.
So what's the ultimate solution for that? I mean, and again, tying that into cities, of course, city skylines here. How would you solve that, and how would you represent that here?
Just, increasing density. So allowing for higher density housing in areas where you have low density. So for existing cities anyway, but if you have a city you can build from the ground up, you can obviously build for high density straight off the bat, which is what I was talking about with mixed use development, because you can create much higher density housing stock while also still providing services that are local. So you prevent the need to like drive 20 minutes away just to go to the grocery store, right? Your local grocery store is just on the ground floor of the building you live in. So it's sort of this live, work, and play idea where everything is sort of centralized. And if you can build from the ground up doing that, it just makes it much easier, because going back later is, like I said, it's a very, very difficult sell to try to increase density when you've traditionally lived in a much lower density area.
I could see that. And yeah, that was one of my biggest things when I started playing this game too, was the fact that I just really didn't like destroying houses. You know, like I would hit a point in the game where my population had boomed to a certain point, and I'm like, I need to turn this road into a 4-lane road from a 2-lane road. But like you can't do it without just destroying houses, and I recognize that in real life you can't just go destroy people's houses because you want to, you know.
Well, kind of.
You're also in a position too with this game.
Whoa.
What?
Yeah. So
I'm sorry, Slay.
Eminent domain is a thing, a concept that cities can use to tear down existing infrastructure to expand public infrastructure. I don't know if any of you yeah, it's called eminent domain, and it's basically just says the city has the ability to purchase property at whatever rate they basically want to, and they can tear down people's houses. I mean, that's how the highway systems got built. LA, you look at a lot of the highways that they've built.
I thought they just purchased all the land.
No, a lot of it gets taken through eminent domain.
Wow.
They try to purchase it, through the normal channels first, but if people refuse, they can just take them to court and just basically take the land as they need.
Wow. I actually didn't know that. I'd heard about something similar regarding the Texas border fence and all that stuff, but we won't get into that. Slayer, you had something to say? I'm sorry to cut you off there.
Well, I was just going to say that the luxury of this game is that we don't have to worry about hundreds of years of road development, stuff like that, and where houses are going to go or have been forever, and historic districts where you can't tear down anything and all that jazz. Is we get the benefit of looking at things as they are and building for the best possible situation, which is it's kind of like you could take, okay, Atlanta has terrible traffic, how can I redo Atlanta but with better traffic, which is also a fun project, I think, for some folks.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see. So you're saying in Atlanta?
I'm saying like you play this game not so much with the last 100 200 years in mind of where roads are placed. So Atlanta, for example, has been there for a bit. They're going to have areas where they can't really they have limitations, just like LA has limitations, New York has limitations. Like you can't go into Manhattan and start tearing down big buildings, right, to try to improve on traffic flow. And whereas this game gives you an opportunity to kind of reimagine spaces and how you could lay it out to make it more efficient. I think a lot of people really enjoy that about cities. But I was just commenting on the fact that some of this stuff in our real world has been there for so long that there's so many limitations, and it really restricts, I guess, Eddie, you could probably comment on this, an ability for a planner to come in and say, how do we fix something if it's drastically bad, and it's been that way for years. Because that's a struggle in Atlanta, right? Is we have really bad traffic, but we are also held to really, there are tight spaces when you get inside of our perimeter highway system that they can't really do a whole lot about anymore.
Yeah, no, that's very true for really any major city. It's for I don't do a lot of transportation planning, but yeah, I mean it's definitely an issue. One of the things that they do, so when people redevelop they have to go through a project approval process. And so what the city of LA does is when they go through that project approval process, they can have the streets department require them to give more dedication to the road, so that way the new building that comes in is actually set back further from the road than the previous building, and they can then expand the street into that space. So if you actually look at the transportation map, you'll see all these weird places where you have this indentation of dedicated road space that isn't built yet, and it's just kind of this hodgepodge everywhere. That's one tactic that cities use to kind of expand their road system, is to wait until there's a redevelopment on that property. And that's really driven by property, value. So the more valuable a property is to a developer, the more likely they are to redevelop it.
Makes sense.
But yeah, that's the great thing about cities, like you were saying with City Skylines, you kind of get to plan for the best case scenario right off the bat, which that was a planner's dream, right? There's master plan cities, and I think I spoke on that a little bit on the first
you did, yeah, but feel free to go into it again.
Irvine is a good example of that. It was basically empty space when the planners got a hold of it, and so they master planned the city from the ground up. The issue with that is 50 years later it doesn't necessarily still work. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. You kind of have to weigh the current needs with what the future expected need is.
Yeah, and it's hard to see into the future too.
Either these 5 roundabouts.
I do what. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Slayer.
I do there's a centerpiece. I think he found whatever he's going to put in the middle now. I do I'm interested to see what Jedi's doing, because like I said earlier, he uses a lot of ploppable objects, which I think Carex is more zoning. I'm trying to think of JJ and like how much ploppable items he uses, but a lot of what Jedi has done is just built a framework of roads to all go around like his ploppable items. I think there's like a church, a big hall, stuff like that in there. So he's like kind of setting, I guess, the tone for what the city's going to look like, and I assume he's just going to fill in with all his zoning.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. And then looking at Ezilii, she's kind of building very low density. I don't know if you were watching. She was very specifically placing the zoning so that only small structures would get built into those spaces.
Yeah, very intelligent design coming out from her there too. Geez, yeah, it's tough to see which way they're going with this. I mean, I see Ezilii's already including some Industries DLC assets there. Like you said, you guys pretty much covered it on the assessments for the other cities. I don't have much to add to that. I do got a comment though. I want to see if Jjamjim does anything with this canal. I want to see if he actually includes like a ferry line, or if that was just for looks here.
Yeah, it's really
I mean,
pretty.
it is very pretty, and he's definitely included the walkable space next to it. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays out with that. KRX has obviously gone straight to having this sort of suburban residential area, that grid layout that he did. He's already filled that, and now it looks like he's kind of moving on to his industrial and commercial zones.
Yeah, it looks like he kind of changed his tactic and started doing some of his zoning earlier because he laid out a bunch of those roads in that sort of like I guess it was a grid, yeah, right? Like
Yeah, it was
like
pretty
it was a little bit,
Yeah,
it had some
he
like
had a
kind of angles.
big loop. Well, he had a big
Yeah,
loop around the outer edge that he then took and then gridded in between, which is pretty common to see in a lot of cities in the U.S. where they, you have your arterial roads that are usually 4-lane or 6-lane roads or boulevards or whatever they call it. And then off of that you kind of grid off. Ezilii is going for a much more traditional European style where you see low density and a lot of curves. You don't see a lot of this grid system set up, outside of maybe like a downtown area.
So I noticed that one thing I've noticed in City Skylines is a lot of times if you were to just color all the areas in, the houses are almost touching in every case, like all the lots, but sometimes there'll be little gaps in between them. How often does that sort of thing happen in real life? Like pretty much every house is up against another lot, right? Like whether you're in a city or not.
Yeah, so it depends. It depends on the zoning. So a lot of LA, you look at like South Central, where it's a lot of single-family dwellings. They're actually 0 lot lines, so the setbacks are very small. But you get outside of that to more suburban areas, and you're going to see much larger setbacks. So a setback is where you have the property line, but then you actually have a different set of sort of invisible lines inside that lot that you can actually build within. And so, in a low density setting, you would see much larger separation between the buildings because it's zoned that way. So you basically are not allowed. Like you could say, for instance, you have something that's zoned for very low density, like an R1 zone, and you would see 15-foot setbacks on all the property lines. So for 15 feet, you can't put a building there. It just has to be open space.
Is there a reason they do that?
Yeah, so open space is beneficial for firefighting, especially.
Okay.
I come from that background, and so having that space between the buildings, prevents fire from moving between buildings as easily, but it also allows easier access to that building to put it out. I mean, if you look at, traditionally dense cities like New York or Philadelphia, one of the big problems is that when something catches on fire, the things next to it are very, very vulnerable. And so you have to throw a lot more resources at it than you would necessarily otherwise.
Yeah, I guess San Francisco would probably be a good example of that.
Oh yeah,
What was that?
exactly.
1909 or something, that fire? 1912?
Exactly. And Chicago, same thing. Everything was built so densely together that, and back then, of course, they also had, they didn't have nearly the firefighting, equipment we have now. But even still, it just makes it more difficult. And in fact, they would just blow up whole blocks to stop fires back in the day.
Seriously?
Yeah, they would actually go like 3 or 4 houses down, and they would just blow up that house.
Wow.
And, before that, they used to have I forget what it's called, but the main beam of a building would have a hook on the outside, and you could actually hook onto that thing and pull the main beam apart, and the whole building would collapse. And it was designed that way specifically.
It does not sound like earthquake safe to me.
No, and well, yeah. So then that one of the issues that obviously San Francisco faced in 88 or 87 when the earthquake, a lot of those structures, had issues. Yeah, and you're right, Slayer. Ezilii is definitely going for the detail. She's putting in handicap spots right now. I think
Yep.
in this gas station.
That's
So
her bread and butter.
so she's much more focused on having this low density sort of European feel with this, having these lower density houses, and then she's adding in a lot of these assets around it that are, very detailed.
That's definitely more her style. And looking at Imperial Jedi, this is actually the first time I've seen him build. I've never seen his stream. He was recommended to me. I know he's got a huge following on YouTube. And of course, everybody else out here probably already knows him, but I've never actually seen him build. So it's kind of interesting because this is my first time getting a look at his style. And he's the first person I've seen actually incorporate trains heavily in here. I mean, he spent a little bit of time here on this train track, this train station. It'd be interesting to see how he integrates that.
He's got a very good sense of how to lay things out. Like I remember distinctly not too long ago, I jumped in his stream and I was watching, and just like the layout for his downtown area. And it's like you can do grid for so long, right? And then once you want to sort of like branch out to something like, let's say, okay, the grid area, theoretically, maybe that was made years prior to this other section. You get this other section, there's like a slightly different angle attached to it. But it looks very like some of his layouts just look so realistic in terms of how he incorporates like the highway design around it and how he mixes up some of his grids and angles and whatnot. It's like everything blends together really, really well.
Yeah, I'm liking the angles he's bringing to the city. That's first thing that strikes me. Cause I have been here for 4 of these now. Lucky me. And yeah, I haven't seen somebody build with this specific style. It just feels slightly different than what I've seen in the past. So pretty interesting to see him building that way. KRX, I think he got into Industries DLC a little bit last time too. I can't remember if he did farming. I think he did farming on the last one as well. So
He's definitely doing a lot of farming on this one.
yeah, that's a massive farm plot he's got going on there, and his plan might be to just detail it. I like how he's got the anarchy on too. So he's laying those silos directly on top of the fields, creates like a little bit more unique of an aspect to it. And flushing that out there pretty clean.
I mean, Ezilii's getting down to putting in garbage dumpsters now, so we can definitely say
I love
without a
it.
doubt, she's very, very detailed, yeah. And you're right with Karak. So he did the early grid system for his residential just to get the population in there. And then now it looks like, he's spending a lot more time to kind of build these more intricate road systems that aren't quite a grid layout, with using the Industries DLC as well.
Yeah, I mean, this was something we talked about just before the event too, was the fact that we haven't had anybody do like a highly detailed small area yet for one of these builds. I'm really curious to see how far she goes with it, how far Ezilii goes with it on this parking lot in this little area here. Because like everybody has noted, she is a major detailer. I mean, that's like her main thing. She is very good at creating some highly detailed, very beautiful little scenes. As is Slayer, which is one of the reasons he's here to judge. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting because she's aware of this. She was told this before the event this time, and I made it very clear to everybody that was an option because everybody seemed to be kind of under the impression from the past builds that it had to be a big city. It doesn't have to be a big city for this competition. You're more than welcome to build like one block if you want to build one block. Just know that maybe that might not be the most impressive thing at the end of the day. That's true. No, Kiggy, your pond was absolutely detailed. I can't take that away from you, man. I can't take that away from you. It was a very detailed pond. I liked that pond. For those who didn't see the pond, the VODs on YouTube, you can check it out. But do that after the event here today, because we're obviously right in the middle of this one. 40 minutes into this now, and these players' cities are starting to take shape. And how are you guys feeling about this so far? Which one is standing out to you?
Well, I think KRX is definitely probably the most complete looking city so far. You know, he's kind of like you said, Slayer. He zoned earlier on than what he did previously, I would imagine. So he's kind of got more of the overall feel going, and everyone else has been kind of zoomed in for a little while. So it's kind of hard to get the overall picture in the other cities, I think.
Yeah, I think I don't know if JJ has actually zoned anything yet. I don't know if he's planning a building or just done mostly like road work, because I saw someone yelling in his chat to start putting buildings down. I mean,
Don't have a KRX situation here.
right. I feel like what we're seeing is two different styles from Jedi and KRX, but they're both making a chunk of progress in their own way. I want to see what JJ comes out with this canal in the middle. And of course, you have Ezilii doing what she does best, right? And she's going to set up something. It's no matter what, for like someone that's doing, almost all ploppable, right? This detail heavy stuff, like you're going to have a smaller build. So I think her bets probably go with a small community center or something like that, right? And like an area with some residential, but it's going to look like real life, right? if she's able to, yeah. But I'm liking what Jedi's putting together, especially with the trains and using the I think that's like a stone bridgeway to elevate it.
Yeah, that's a very cool bridge.
All he needs is the steam train, and I'd be totally into it. Yeah,
and I 100%. Think that train asset was one of the ones that was in the previous map as well.
Oh, okay.
I actually had Kiggy remove it just so we didn't have any issues with people, not being able to download assets, but we ended up in that problem anyway, unfortunately. But yeah, no, I really do like his choice there with those particular railways, those bridges. I like that bridge. Do you know which one that is?
Not off the top of my head, no. I know that there are some assets. I don't feel like that's one I have, but I was just using one the other day in a new city I was doing, and it was really kind of cool to have like the stone because it gives it this old-timey look. And then there's a steam train you can throw on that has like actual steam that'll come out of the train as it's going along, and it's a cool.
That's super cool. Super cool.
Yeah, I'd like to see some builds, doing like an old West style town, maybe, where you have the steam trains, you have this sort of, old school feel to the city.
That's what I'm trying to figure out now. That is my current project, is a desert city, and it is a challenge because it's very different from what I'm accustomed.
Yeah, that was
kind of cool to see some Wild West towns,
Yeah, that was one of the things I was looking at doing for one of these contests, but it was just it requires so much preparation that I didn't feel it would really work for a speed build. Because one, if I hand everybody a Western map with cactuses and stuff on it, these houses that come with the base game just won't look right. So people are going to need to download, like hitching posts and all kinds of other assets to go along with it, saloons and God knows what else. Yeah, so it wasn't something we could necessarily incorporate into a speed build. However, what I may do in the future, at least for a separate event, because we are planning on running this one at least once a month, but I was thinking we may have some alternate competitions coming up here, in which we perhaps give people a month, give a couple builders a month to come up with a 1 hour city build. Like tell them in advance, hey, it's going to be a Western. You've got 1 month, your competition date's this date, get ready. And then people can get out there and see what they can really pump together. Maybe not an hour, sorry, but you know what I mean. Give them some kind of deadline to get that sort of build pumped out. I think that could create a very interesting show as well. So there's a lot of different ways we can cut this. But if you guys have not pressed or typed in chat !enter, then you're missing out, because we do have a giveaway going today for the City Skylines base game. Whether you own it or not, you'll get the code. You can always give it to a friend if you already own the game. But type !enter, and that'll get you in on that giveaway. And just remember, you can do that in everybody else's streams as well, too. So if you haven't gone to their streams, we might have a multi-Twitch link in chat. I think Slayer had one, or perhaps one of my mods. My mods got it. Save me.
Yeah, I think Quan had posted it earlier.
I thought she had. Yeah. Oh, well, get wrecked, Slay.
I'm banned.
Just 100% banned forever. Yep. No, there we go. Yeah, thank you, Quan. Exclamation multi. That does it. That does it. And yeah, go check these guys out. Check out their streams. Take a look at their builds. Because we are coming up 15 minutes remaining in this first hour of this. And once again, once it comes up on about the hour point, we're going to pop in and touch base with the players, see how they're feeling, see, kind of check their pulse, see how it's going for them. I'm sorry, too, for me today. I am so out of it because I have not slept in like 30 hours. So I am dying trying to keep conversation flowing for this. So I apologize if I just kind of ramble at times, but you guys have been great. I appreciate you being here.
Oh, yeah. You should definitely get some sleep, Lemon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a dinner date after this, too, so it'll probably be like another 12 hours before I get to bed, but we'll get there.
Oh, but this is a hell of a dinner date. 12 hours.
Yeah, my dad's coming in from out of town. Yeah, and I haven't seen him in a while, so we're going to go hang out, play some pool, have a good night. I don't know. I'm going to be in a daze. Yeah, caffeine. We got plenty of caffeine. I got my coffee going right now.
I do. So I'm watching Jedi a little bit here, and he's still placing a lot of ploppable assets, which I expected, but I'm surprised it's as much as he is. He's just looking for spots and building areas for specific buildings, which I've seen him do. But for the competition, I think it's interesting how much he's actually.
Yeah, KRX is definitely going for the macro build.
Yeah.
Rather than the micro build. Obviously, Ezilii's going for probably the most micro build of the four. But Jedi is spending a lot of time. It looked like he was putting in like walkways adjacent to the road system. And then I don't know what JJ. I think JJ is still just building roadway infrastructure.
Yep, he's got. How far are we in right now? We're almost an hour in.
Almost an hour.
45 minutes in now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I'm noticing that between Imperial Jedi and KRX, they both seem to have gone for a slightly larger design than we're seeing out of at least Ezilii, but Jjamjim also, especially because he's just not as far along with his city development quite yet. It's interesting to see how KRX is approaching this specifically because he has been in the most of these, so he's got the best feel for how much time it takes, how much time's available, how long he's got to do things. So I kind of look to him as like the guide because he most likely has a good idea, a good sense of time when it comes to this, how he's progressing through his city. Of course, Imperial Jedi, never been in this before, but he seems to be keeping pace in terms of like development scale as we go through this. And going back to Jjamjim and Ezilii, like you guys said, Ezilii seems to be keeping it small, which is, of course, her style. And she's had fairly good success in that. She did that in the last event that she played in as well. And it turned out pretty phenomenal, if I remember correctly. Her city build ended up being pretty impressive. So, yeah, very interesting to see where it goes from here. But as the city comes along...
JJ and Jedi are just going to plop down all of their zoning like near the end and just sort of hope that it works with the road systems that they've built.
Yeah. I mean, you do also have Demand Master on too, or I would assume that they do, so they can control it and boost it all the way up to fill it up as much as possible.
Right. Yeah, that's what I would assume as well.
I know KRX's strategy too is also like kind of in that last like 2 to 5 minutes. A lot of that empty space you see, he's going to put in trees like really, really quickly to fill it in and make it look a little bit more kind of cleaned up. And
that's honestly one of the things I like most about this game is how easy it is to make things look good. Like, you don't have to be a master detailer. You can literally just slap trees in around the building sometimes, and it looks pretty good. I mean, It doesn't look as good as like the stuff you and Ezilii do, but it does look, acceptable to me anyway. And
I mean, I'm sorry, just to tag off of that, like it all depends on your style. And like, you and I have had that discussion a lot too. It's like some folks, you want to do detail, great. And if you want to do like medium or whatever, you can play it so many different ways. Like I've found that I really, oddly enough, it's like, I love making areas really pretty and neat, but for some reason there's this fascination I have in the back of my mind with making stuff look bad. And that's why like I enjoy doing like the alleyways and like the rough plots of land that just aren't, you know, maybe there's an old building, an abandoned building, or there was, so there's rubble, you know. That's
What
like
do
a
you think
really
of those
interesting.
LA builds, those like South LA builds that you see
Oh,
on Reddit?
like Border Town and stuff like that. Like I think was that $2.20 that did that. I think they're awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a cool look. Like I know there's also someone on Reddit that does a build that's like it's usually a post-apocalyptic.
Mm-hmm.
So he does like small scenes, right, where like there's an airplane crash on the highway and stuff like that, and those are really cool too. They're high level of assets and mods being used to create that scenario, and I don't think it's like necessarily functional. It's more just to, you know, create, you know, content, maybe an image from is my guess. But you doing like if you ever take the time, you put in buildings and you leave a spot for an alleyway, like try to fill the space. Like go look at pictures of what alleyways look like and try to fill it, because you're going to use all this grungy textures and all that stuff. And it's like a completely different way of doing things from this beautiful, you know, resort that you built next to the water and all that. It just like kind of a different side of the brain a little bit.
Another thing I've noticed looking at cities specifically is that they don't tend to have clean edges. This was just something I noticed for the first time a couple days ago, because it's probably the first time I've ever looked at a map at night of a city. But it seems like a lot of major cities just sort of spider off into nothingness. Like they're just a jumble of tangled roads that lead off into nowhere. I guess that makes sense from a residential standpoint, because you don't generally have as much traffic and the roads don't really need to go anywhere, and you don't really want people going through there anyway. But as cities continue to grow, as a city planner, how do you sort of deal with that, Eddie?
Well, like when you're talking about urban sprawl, you know, especially in cities like Atlanta, Dallas, you know, Las Vegas, places that have all the open space. Yeah, a lot of the road systems just kind of lead in the middle. You'll have a lot of the interstate highway system that was built, you know, previously, and then you'll just see kind of stuff pop up around that. But yeah, I mean, it's not uncommon to see that, to have sort of roadways to nowhere. Alleys are actually a thing that a lot of cities are trying to get rid of. Alleyways are not as beneficial as we originally, you know, would hoped. I mean, they're great for like storing trash cans and things like that, but they also are a place that breeds crime. And so a lot of cities are tackling with, you know, crime issues. I know Dallas, especially right now, they're having a big problem with their crime rate spiking. And so, you know, you at least in residential areas, you're probably starting to see a lot less alleyways, and more just sort of buildings that are sort of next to each other with a setback. And so the area won't be open to the public. It'll just be like an open space, you know, greenery or parks. You know, that's one of the benefits to having those setbacks, is that you can have open space that has playgrounds. You can have open space that has, you know, trees, you know, places for people to sit outside.
Now,
You
if
know,
the goal is to eliminate crime, though, wouldn't those areas still just attract criminals all the same?
well, no, because a lot of them are closed off, so they're only accessible
Okay.
by the residents of that area.
Okay, I see.
But you know, one of the things that you know we talk about with building design, especially, so not just zoning, but like specific buildings themselves, is something called program, and it's how do you, you know, if architecturally wise, design a building in such a way that it is more open and more inviting to those that live in the area. And so you'll see a lot of cities are starting to have, it's like the city of LA has something called the Urban Design Studio, and it's a bunch of professional urban designers who they focus on that aspect of planning. So the way that the buildings themselves are designed and laid out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's even little things like making windows bigger that you could, you know, it may cost the developer more to build the building, but if you just make these windows bigger, it makes the building look better. So cities are starting to focus more on that as well, not just, you know, from a macro perspective.
I see. All right.
I'm watching. What is Ezilii putting in? Is that a fire station?
You know, I think it's
Yeah.
just pavement that she's
So-
swapping right now, or
I just had to comment on her channel there, because this is an issue, and we just agreed, because I unmuted her for a second and to listen to what she said.
gotcha.
But she took a parking lot road, right,
Mhm.
and created a parking lot, and you can insert your own parking through a mod, right? And what she did is she's using it for the whole fire station lot, and we both have this issue where there's no curb cuts for vehicles to go into like a parking lot of a building or something like that. It's
Oh,
and that drives us. I knew it drove me crazy, and she's like, "It drives me crazy," and now I'm like, "Yes, I'm in the same boat," because
So you're saying that, like, yeah, there's no actual like driveways for anything.
yeah, like
it's all
your
just
driveway,
curb.
like you might have a driveway, but it has to go over the sidewalk. Like there's never a curb cut.
I've never noticed that.
Yeah,
That's
if you look
interesting.
closely,
Right.
it doesn't exist.
That's the kind of things that we bring detailers on for, because like, I never would have known. I played it. I seriously have 993 hours on this game. I've never noticed that.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah,
I'm
curb
actually
cuts are that's not something you normally have to think about as a planner. I mean, we
right.
do in the sense that you don't want too many of them, because then it makes it more dangerous for pedestrians to use that sidewalk, right? If there's a lot of curb. But as a planner, you don't have when it's actually being constructed, you're not worried about the fact that your sidewalks is just going to go straight, straight over the parking lot.
How does that work with old buildings? So, like, for example, at my house here, we have an old shed that's like 110, 120 years old here. It's a carriage house. It was designed for horses and carriages, literally. And you can't fit a car in it, but it's got a driveway cut out like that. And one year we actually got a ticket for parking in front of it, even though it's like nailed shut, like clearly doesn't function. Is this a problem in cities as these buildings become abandoned or old? Is it like a financial problem for cities to go through and recurb those sections? Is that something that developers have to worry about at all, or is that just
It
totally on
is.
homeowners?
So no, so it's actually most cities leave the curb cut and reconstruction up to the developers. Like the
Okay.
streets department will mandate that you have to put a curb cut here and not here, and then you have to close this driveway and rebuild this. So city improvement comes down to having the planning department and the streets department, other city departments having their say when it comes to looking at a project as a whole.
I see.
But the city themselves don't tend to worry about. If you've ever been to LA, you'll look at the some of the sidewalks in these neighborhoods and go, what on earth? Like it's like you have a part of the sidewalk will be like raised up 2 feet, and it's all cracked and it's hard to walk on, and it's like, why isn't the city doing anything? Well, it's not up. A lot of that is up to the developers and homeowners to kind of maintain themselves.
That makes sense. Yeah, and I've noticed when I was in San Diego, speaking back on alleys, when you were talking about that more specifically, all of the area I was staying in San Diego was alleys, pretty much. Like the whole, I forget what they called it, like not Long Beach, but some beach, Pacific Beach. I was up in Pacific Beach in San Diego. And yeah, like every single block had these big alleys that were almost the size of the main road running through them.
They're good for commercial districts because you need to allow access for like trash pickup, drop-offs, and deliveries to like the commercial building. And so a lot of times you'll see more of these larger open spaces kind of behind commercial, but they're trying to eliminate alleyways for residential. In fact, LA has actually gone through and closed the majority of the alleyways, actually.
Like closed how?
They just put up fences and you can't access them. Or what they'll do is they'll allow a developer to build across the alleyway and just get rid of it that way by putting a building in the way.
Oh, just literally build through it. That's
Yep.
interesting. Huh. Yeah, I didn't realize alleyways were such a problem, I mean, I live in a very small town myself. We got alleys on every single block, and they're all gravel. And yeah,
They're beneficial in some ways, like I said, especially for like commercial development. So having the ability to access the rear allows you to put a lot of your sort of stuff you don't want to see on the pedestrian side. So like I said, trash pickup, deliveries, you don't want big trucks parking in the roads and things like that. But for residential areas, there's just not really much of a use for them. I mean, a lot of alleyways were built to allow rear garage access. So instead of having your garage come out to the front of the street, you would have all of the garages would be in the rear and they would be attached to a single alleyway.
So what about houses built on alleyways? Is that something they've not done in LA?
Well, yeah, that's like I said. So some of these larger developments that they've approved over the last like 10 years, they've just allowed the developers to they basically give them the alleyway. They give up the ground rights to it, and they allow the developer to just build the structure across.
Okay.
And that just sort of by default gets rid of it. But a lot of the alleyways, they put up physical fences that actually block off, access to those alleyways.
Well, I was speaking more to houses that are built off alleyways. So, like, I didn't even realize this was a thing till I was a kid and I was working paper route. But apparently, some places they straight up have half addresses, like 3.5, 15.5, that kind of thing.
Those are usually duplexes where someone will take a house and they'll put another door and they'll actually build a wall down the middle of the house, and so you'll have two separate living spaces in one single structure.
I see.
There's duplexes, there's triplexes, there's actually quadplexes, which are 4 different addresses all built into the same. So you'll have you'll see weird numbers like 238 and and it's a weird address system. But yeah, you do see that quite a bit, especially in LA, where, like I said, the housing stock is so far behind the housing demand that a lot of developers will take a large structure and subdivide it into 4 smaller ones. New York City has a big problem with people doing that illegally.
I was just reading about that the other day about the basement dwellers of the Bronx. So
yeah, and also not just a lot of the high rises, they'll literally just put partitions up in the building illegally. The city department, the city doesn't even know about it, which is dangerous. Again, coming from a firefighter perspective, it makes it dangerous, right? If you go into a structure expecting much larger layouts and all of a sudden there's just walls where there weren't supposed to be, it's very confusing sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's big. Again, you have a housing demand that's outstripped housing stock, and so landlords are going to do what they can to make money, and that's one of the ways they do it.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see any other solution reasonably. But, we'll have to talk about this when I come back, because we are hitting the 1 hour point here. I got to go talk to these players. So, yeah, I'll be back with you two here in just a second.
Sounds good.
All right, yeah, as I was saying there, chat, we are going to move in to talking to these guys. We're going to get a feel kind of for how they're feeling about their city builds right now. Jjamjim's is looking pretty complete. Ezilii's is starting to get a little detail down. I like the park she's working on here. KRX is like I said, he's got his spread, and it looks like he's going for more of a ploppable build. And of course, Imperial Jedi now working on a school. He's got a lot of roads down, but not much else. So let's go ahead and pop in here. Jedi, hello.
Oh, hey, what's up?
How you doing, man?
Oh God, I don't even know how to answer that.
It's always a tough question.
We're building. Let's just put it that way.
I'm loving what you're doing here. I'm not going to ask you yet about the 5 roundabouts. We'll save that for the end. But
Swindon, you like that?
We've been talking about that a little bit. The only thing better than 1 roundabout I said was 5 roundabouts, and I feel like you nailed it.
Form per se.
Oh, I can't wait to see, man.
Yeah, there's gonna be 2 more roads attached to it. I gotta see some traffic go through here too, but
yeah, once the zoning gets down. I like the buildings you're doing, but how you feeling so far, man? You feeling confident? Feeling good?
Sort of. I'm feeling okay. I wish we had like 6 more hours.
That's what a lot of people keep telling me. I wish we could do a 6-hour build, but man, that's a long time to keep everybody sitting here.
Honestly, even 3 hours would have been a nice little.
Yeah, 3 hours. Yeah. We can definitely consider that for next time. 3 hours. I think we can keep people's attention span for 3 hours, because you're right. Like, there's just so much to do in this game. The 2 hours goes so quick. It goes so incredibly quick. So I love the buildings you're dropping down here. Do you have any thoughts or anything you want to shout out?
I mean, not really. I feel like also put on the spot. I don't know. I guess no, not really.
I know. Don't you love being put on the spot? I pop in on you. Hey, what do you got to say, man?
My only thing is Remembrance Day. Don't forget that on the 11th.
That's true.
Memorial Day if you're elsewhere.
That's true. Memorial Day, Remembrance Day, the poppies in Canada. It's coming up, folks. All right. Well, I will leave you to it then, man. Enjoy, and we will talk to you here in about an hour.
Beautiful.
All right. We're going to pop in over on Ezilii now. Hello.
Oh, hello.
How are you?
I'm doing fan-freaking-tastic.
I'm loving what you're doing here. A nice, tight, compact city build here, but lots of detail. Exactly what we were hoping for from you, it looked like. So,
wait, you were hoping for something? Oh my gosh. What is this? Pressure? Oh geez.
I seem to be putting everybody on the spot with these little checkups, it seems like.
Nah, we got this. Last time we successfully built a gas station.
That's true. You know what? You did. I remember this now. And this time we've already got a fire station, it looked like, with a basketball court on it. And
yeah, you want me to swing over?
I mean, if you want to. Yeah. Just here to take a quick look. I don't want to distract you for too long here.
So we got this guy.
Yeah, I'm loving how that's coming together. That's a very nice little look. And that was something.
Done. It's well, I mean, maybe I'll add something. Shh, don't tell anybody.
We don't want to spoil it. Definitely don't want to spoil it.
There, I'm done. Done. See?
Wait, what did you just throw flowers in there? Oh, there it is.
I just put trees everywhere.
I'm on a delay. Okay, that's what's going on. That's beautiful.
It's okay.
That's a fire hazard and a half, though. I would say.
Well, I mean, the fire department's there, right? Like,
that's true.
And they got hazmat showing up because,
you've planned this out. I like that.
Well, there's a steel mill over here.
I did see the steel mill. So are you were you planning on building more into the industrial area, or was that just
who knows?
If we got time. All good. Well, I don't want to take up any more of your time than yeah.
I can't be responsible for that piece that I'm circling on the screen right now. That is not my work.
Oh, that hideous three-way intersection back there.
I am not calling it anything other than me not being responsible.
Yeah, I was gonna let you off the hook and just pretend that it was there when you got here, but we saw you do it.
It was totally not there when I got here. Wait, what?
We could have played it off. It's too late now. All right, yeah, I'm gonna pop over to KRX before I eat up too much of your time, though. So good luck on this. 55 minutes remaining, and I will talk to you.
55 minutes? What the?
Yeah,
you think this is a competition or something?
It might be, if depending on how fast we build. All right, Ezilii. Good luck.
Good luck. Have fun. Thank you.
Okay, now we're gonna pop over to KRX. Hello, good sir. Hopefully he's able to...
What's up, dude?
Oh, there we are. Perfect.
How's it going, man?
It's going good, man. How you doing?
Pretty good, actually. We're not doing terraforming today. Not that much, at least. We were, of course, terraforming at that moment. But 2 towns. I'm going to have like a town here by the lake, forestry in here, doing agriculture in here. I don't know. We're going to try to like merge it together and connect it up. Right now, I'm thinking a train to connect both of these cities together is what we're working on.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
That'd
be amazing.
I don't know. We're just fire away if you have questions or something like that. You know?
Yeah, no, I like the different style. I mean, it seems like this time you dove into building a lot quicker. And as I've been reiterating to everybody, I'm like, not to put you on the spot here too, like I did everybody else, but you're the one with the most experience here, and so I got a lot of faith in your ideas for build design within the time. So it's good to see this coming along the way it is, man. Do you have anything to shout out to anybody?
No.
Come watch his stream. Definitely go watch his stream, everybody, if you're not already. All right.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Pops, thanks.
53 minutes, and I will talk to you then.
Sounds good.
All right, good luck. And then we're going to cut all the way over to Jjamjim here, the final man himself. Sir.
Yeah, what's up, dude?
How's it going?
Oh, it's, building, I guess.
You feeling confident?
Nope.
Good. Absolutely nobody is, so you're right on track.
Perfect. This is, it's interesting, man. It's a really different way to build, that's for sure.
Yeah, so this is your first time doing a speed build thing like this of any kind?
Yeah, the only other speed building I've done is when the only other speed building is done like in vanilla when I'm trying to do like scenarios, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of it.
That is interesting. Well, I don't want to eat up a whole lot of your time. I think you're doing fantastic work here.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah, for sure. And got 52 minutes left. I'll be talking to you guys at the end.
Sounds good.
All right. Good luck.
Appreciate you, dude.
It's going to be huge.
Yeah, so I'm going to just go ahead and say that now. If you guys have not gone and checked these guys out, they are doing some fantastic work here. They really are. Ezilii, Imperial Jedi, KRX, and Jjamjim, they're all doing some fantastic builds. And if you haven't gone over to the streams, the multi-Twitch link is in chat. You can click on that to watch all the streams at once. Definitely go give them a follow. Definitely drop Slay 3K a follow as well. He's been helping out in chat. He's been helping with the judging as well for this. Super, super awesome dude. And thank you, Kiggy. Yeah, I wanted to I need you to tell KRX to add berries to his city. I missed this cup stack. I'm sorry. I've been so bad about chat tonight. So I want to just take one quick moment here before I dive back in with the judges and actually get to talk to you guys just for a minute. I know we're here for the city's competition, but and we'll even keep this up so you guys can keep the action going. But yeah, Storm, welcome in. Deck, it's good to see you. Lomi, I didn't get to say hi to you earlier. Ank, Abusive Milk, Citra, just everybody. Vegans, everybody. The follows, Paul, thank you for the follow. Shirley, Visa King, Derpy, thank you so much for the resub. God, that was an hour ago. Epizone resubbed an hour ago. Thank you as well, man. You guys have just been really fantastic today, and I really do appreciate you being here. I know it's not the most interactive of streams, given that we do have a bit of a competition going on, but I hope you guys are enjoying it. I hope you really enjoy City Skylines the way I do, because even though I don't play it a whole bunch on stream, this game is just truly fantastic. The amount of customization, as you can see through these players, it can be done on the same map in so many different ways and with so many different styles of play. I mean, the sky is just really the limit on what you can do here, and I love that. I love that about this game, and I'm so thankful that we have the opportunity to bring this sort of competition forward for you guys. And not to mention, Paradox getting involved and providing those game keys for the giveaways today. If you weren't in here earlier when I said it, every single one of us got a game key to give away. So whether you own the game or not, you can go enter in any one of our chats, !enter in mine. I'm not sure how they're doing it in theirs, but that will allow you to enter for that giveaway and get your chance at a free game key. So I hope you guys are enjoying this. I really am. Twisted Ninja, welcome in as well, dude. Welcome in as well. And Oogly Guy, sorry, you said hi like 20 minutes ago. Didn't even get to say hi to you. Yed, good to see you as well, dude. Thank you, Kiggy. These new scenes, the background's supposed to be animated, but we weren't able to get the animated versions in before the event today. So for the next one, we will have some animated, a little bit more flashy, less static. But today is what we got. We got the new logo. We got the new panels. It's just about everything I hoped for today. And these guys are definitely kicking butt. So I'm going to go ahead and pop back in with you two.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
We're back. I'm done rambling to stream here.
We've just been discussing things and eating snacks.
Yeah? Snack time. God, oh. I haven't eaten today, I don't think. See, this is a problem with me. I am the worst person when it comes to sleeping and eating. I forget. I just forget. And it just dawned on me. I was like, oh, I haven't eaten.
Yeah, your body will thank you if you focus on those things a little bit.
Yeah, I probably won't die as soon, That's
Wow,
just what I tell myself.
This got dark.
Oh, sorry. For those who don't watch my content, I kind of take it there often. So I try to dial it back a little bit for these streams. But yeah. Dying is never my preferred course of action when I get up in the morning. Usually I try not to get up if I'm going to die today. So, yeah, totally agree.
What we did spot, though, is that looks like JJ's finally putting down a lot of his buildings along the canal, which is actually looking really awesome. KRX is expanding pretty rapidly along the coast. And then Jedi is still laying out a lot of his primary ploppable buildings, but he's also started zoning too, and he's doing themed zoning so that the buildings will all be styled in whatever theme he selects, which I think may have been European.
Imperial's doing that?
Yeah, who did
Jedi?
I say?
No, I was just double checking.
Jedi, yeah. Jedi's doing some theme building.
That's interesting. I don't think we've seen anybody do that yet. And for those in the audience who don't know, that is a mod option available through the Steam Workshop. You can do district themes where you can literally change the style of your city by district, which is a little bit more advanced, I think, because trying to control that and still make it look good within the context of the rest of the city is pretty difficult. There's like the American eclectic theme, prismatic theme, couple other themes that are available through the workshop, but of course the base themes of European and what do they call the other one? International theme.
Yeah, I mean, there's one of my favorites, Brooklyn. If you download all the assets, I don't know if you've seen that one, Lemon, but you can do like a Brooklyn theme where it's all these like very narrow buildings that are also kind of supposed to be like smushed together really closely.
I've seen some of the buildings, but not the whole pack. That's
yeah.
Cool.
I have that, like I use it for like anytime I have like a sort of downtown, very old American, setting where I want to use a lot of brick. They're pretty awesome.
Yeah, those are called brownstones. Is the name of those types of buildings.
Okay.
Is there a reason they're called that?
Yeah, because
because they're brown.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's,
okay.
The brick that they used was brown in color, but yeah, they're generally called brownstones, and that's very common to see in New York City, which is a very old city.
All right, yeah, I've realized after I asked that what I was wondering was whether there were like racist undertones, which probably isn't the best thing to bring up mid competition.
No, it was just.
But I'm glad to hear that
color.
wasn't the case. Okay. Yeah, because when we start talking old time, who knows 50, 100 years ago why they came up with the names for things. So, yeah, how come they haven't really employed that style of downtown? Because, like, L.A., for example, L.A. doesn't have brownstones. Why is that distinctly a New York thing and not found on the West Coast?
Well, because those cities were founded by European settlers. And so New York, I think, was originally called New Amsterdam, if I'm not mistaken. And so you see those same type of buildings in Amsterdam a lot. Very dense, close together, zero lot line type buildings. LA actually started as a like a church comes and puts down a mission. It started as a mission.
Oh, okay.
And so it was the Spaniards and the Mexicans that moved into LA, into that basin first, and so that's why you have a different style to that than you do, like, say, coastal cities on the east where they were surrounded by Europeans.
Now, was Los Angeles founded before or after the Spanish-American War? Or Mexican-American War, whichever. I always...
Before.
Before? Okay.
Yeah, it was started in the 1700s, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's interesting, because the town I live in is butted up against another town. They're really small towns, but they're basically a town, because, one block is this town, the next block is the other town. But the other town, same thing. It was purchased by the church, the Catholic Church, back in the 1900s on and then they subleased it, I guess, to the city to form a city. I really don't even understand how cities are made. I mean, maybe you can help me through that, because I know there's like a charter to form a city.
It depends on the type of city. So LA, for instance, is a charter city. But in Texas, for instance, once you hit a certain population, you're just considered a city, and you can just apply to the state to have a city designation.
Okay.
Las Vegas is kind of interesting. A lot of people just don't realize this, but the majority of Las Vegas is actually in a bunch of unincorporated towns in Clark County. They're not actually in the city of Las Vegas. The whole strip is not in the city of Las Vegas.
Are you serious?
Yep,
really?
It's in a city called Paradise. But it's not a city. It's an unincorporated town, so they don't have a city council. They don't have a mayor. It's just all done through the county.
That sounds like some mafia stuff right there. Like, what possible reason would Las Vegas Strip?
It is actually the mob is the reason why that happened. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I can't think of any other logical explanation to why the Vegas Strip wouldn't be incorporated into the city unless
they
somebody
tried.
had interests.
So they tried to do. The city of Las Vegas tried to annex it. And the people who own the casinos, the East Coast mobsters, they applied to Clark County for unincorporated township. And Clark County, seeing the dollar signs, went ahead and granted it. And so the city of Las Vegas can't annex anything south of Sahara Avenue.
Interesting. Wow, yeah, I had no idea. So, throughout your experience, because it seems like you have a much broader, I was going to say broader breadth, but, a very broad amount of knowledge. related to cities around the country. You know, is that something that as a city planner you like learn in school, or is this just through your own knowledge?
This is just through Wikipedia and Google and stuff, and just generally having a curiosity about why things are the way they are. Why is our built environment the way?
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting to me. It's always interesting to me how specialized people can be. Just generally speaking. I mean, we're seeing that here with the builds between these players as well. But it's interesting how people can go so far down different avenues for learning. Obviously doctors and stuff like that. But
the strangest thing for me is the first 12 years of my career. I was a paramedic, firefighter, paramedic. So that's what I have the most experience in, is in healthcare.
That's interesting. So did that lead you naturally in some way to city development? Like, what got you into city planning?
The degree that you get for being like a fire chief, for instance, is in public administration, and so a lot of the classes were, urban design and planning, and kind of had a lot of city planning mixed in. And then, I've always been a Sim City, so it just kind of lended itself to planning.
So your fandom of Sim City led you to be a professional city planner in a way.
Yep.
That seems like a perfect topic for a podcast someday. Gaming.
I'm surprised how many city planners actually, it's because of SimCity when they were kids that they became city planners.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many careers out there. Like I've talked to people about this recently. Like somebody out there just loves making fidget spinners, and that's what their whole life is about. And I couldn't imagine spending my life focused on fidget spinners, but some people out there just love it. And there's nothing I have personally against city planning, but sometimes I wonder what brings people to work in these unique jobs. So it's really interesting to hear your story. That's my ultimate point here. It's kind of cool to hear how you got into it.
Yeah, everyone kind of comes from a different place, but yeah, and not a lot of people really know what city planners are. It's not a profession that gets a lot of attention, but yeah, a lot of them at SimCity, man. That's what got them into it.
That's interesting to hear.
And I'm hoping, that City Skylines will inspire the next generation of city planners.
I think it's starting to do that. I've heard of. I actually had someone come into my stream probably a couple months ago, and they started talking about that, how they wanted to use it. I think at a university or something, as an option for people to like better understand like traffic flow and whatnot.
Yeah, and so there's also, so you have city planners, but you also have environmental planners, you have transportation planners. There's people who are in planning, planning, but they do very specific.
So for your specific task, what do you specifically do, just so the audience knows?
Is project planning, so that's reviewing entitlement cases for specific projects.
And is that a very involved process? Is it a long process? Is it a rubber stamp kind of thing, or?
No, it's a very long process because you have to look at the plans, make sure they meet city code, state code, that they meet the environmental qualifications. Like there's a lot of things that go into approving. And then just scheduling the hearings and doing the hearings and getting the public input and rechanging the design based on the input. Sometimes a developer can be in that process for 2 years before they even get to break ground on the development.
God, and that's got to be, I mean, it feels like a bit of a bureaucratic burden. Like not to go too right wing here, but
it's worse in California than a lot of places because of CEQA, which is the California Environmental Quality Act. It requires, this crazy level of review for environmental quality, but a lot of states don't have that. So like in Texas, especially in the Dallas area, for instance, you really don't have that many restrictions on what you can do. You can just buy a piece of land and build really whatever you want, as long as it's not in a city. So a lot of developers do these big tract developments where they buy a huge plot of unincorporated area and they put in 2,000 homes.
And that's just okay in Texas.
Yep. That's how the cities grow out. And then what those cities will do is they'll annex those areas once they're built out, add in services like fire, police, schools and things like that. And the developers will plan for those things. So they'll have areas that, designated for, this is where an elementary school is going to go for our neighborhood.
Yeah, not to get too far off topic, but what do you think about the cancer labels on coffee?
because it was on coffee. You
Yeah.
know, the California loves their labeling. I mean, everything is a cancer risk in California, and you have to put it on the building. Like, so restaurants
You have to put it on the
post-
building?
Yeah, restaurants have to put signs up that say, you know, California Prop 65 warning. You know, this building contains chemicals known to the state of California to cause birth defects and cancer. And it's, you know, just almost every restaurant has it, so no one really notices it. It's like, what's the point?
Yeah, it
It's
almost
more
feels like
bureaucracy.
it's so overdone at this point that it's not like it's going to get ignored. You know, the old God, I can't think of the 4 words right now, but you know what I mean. Like if something's overtalked too much, it just completely gets tuned
Well,
out.
there's a phenomenon called alarm fatigue in healthcare,
There
where
it is.
nurses get so, you know, used to hearing the alarms on like the monitors for their patients that when the time that they actually is an emergency, they don't even notice it.
I believe it. I think I have alarm fatigue too, and I'm not even a nurse. To be honest
Well,
with
and
you.
it applies to any kind of repetitive sound or thing that you do because you get so used to it that you're not using your you know, cognitive thought process to do the task. You're just
Yeah, you just kind of go on autopilot. And you know that's something that can be demonstrated in so many different things, like everything from Rocket League. I could talk about that on to really any sort of thing that puts you on autopilot. I mean, like, yeah, lack of sleep, for example.
yeah. Hey, Slayer, so what is, man, he is really expanding KRX's, like, he is going ham now.
What were you gonna ask me?
I mean, what is he building more residential?
I don't. I'm not 100% sure. It looks like that's his goal. Yeah, because he's got industrial right there, and he's already. I think he's selecting, and yeah, I mean, I feel like the organic lines, right, probably lend itself to that. We talked a while at one point about like doing like neighborhoods and stuff like that, and how you could kind of like break off, and if you wanted to signal like where a neighborhood was road wise, like you can use more organic lines. And I use the example of like a tree, right? Like and how branches come off of like a main road, and this sort of looks like kind of just like a bubble coming off of like one of the main service roads, I guess, for a lot of the city. And there's a there it goes. There's a huge chunk of residential he's throwing in. He's definitely pushing population up.
So just to catch you both up too, because now it's been like 20 minutes since I talked to the players, but I'm not sure if you heard their streams. I'll reiterate it. KRX said his goal was to grow these 2 cities together. He's got a lakeside community and then his major city, and he was going to try to connect the 2 up so that it becomes one major city before the 2 hours end up. That was kind of his plan. Imperial Jedi was, I think, just winging it would be an accurate term. He's going for it, but you know, honestly, what he's got coming together here has been pretty solid so far.
Yeah.
Ezilii, we talked a little bit about the firehouse there. She said she's done with that, but she's going to be moving on to some more stuff. I asked her if she was going to detail it. She just threw some trees down, so it was perfect. And then Jjamjim, like you mentioned, once he started zoning, his area really just came to life. It really started to pop, in my opinion.
It really looks like he's going for like just maybe a little bit smaller of a build. I mean, based on his road work earlier, I thought it was going to be bigger, but it looks a little bit smaller than I would have thought. But it's very, very pretty with like, you know, the straight lines running along the that canal. And
Yeah, I think he's taken more of the kind of approach that I personally would have taken for this, which is, you know, thank God I'm not a judge, but you know, in my mind, you start with a design that would fit in 2 hours, and then you spend an hour and a half flushing it out. That seems like the most ideal way to make something super awesome. And then if you have a little bit of extra time, you can add little segments onto the city. But it seems like he started with that philosophy in mind from the get-go. And I'll be really curious to see how that pays off for him once we get to the voting and once y'all get to decide.
it's going to be tough. Because I mean, again, each one's brought their own like little style and stuff like that, and I've been pleasantly surprised by what Jedi and JJ have brought in. Of course, I haven't seen them in the competition, and well, they haven't been, I guess, but for the first time, just seeing kind of what they're coming up with layout wise, and you know, Jedi using more ploppables than I would have thought, and JJ focusing so much on just like pathing and roads, and doing little bits of details using prop line tool, which makes like parks and some of the lanes he's created really pop.
For sure. And yeah, when you say it's a hard choice, I mean, I just realized that like eventually we're gonna have to pick two of these, and that's a hard thing to do right now. Eddie, how do you feel from a city planner's perspective as to which city lines up more closely with a realistic city?
Well, I think Karax would definitely fit into the American theme. What he's done is very much sort of your mix of organic and grid-like system is very much, in line with that. I would say that Jedi has gone for more of a European feel with the train system, with the, cobblestones and having the I think he did do European residential Slayer. I think I saw
I think that's what he's pushing.
But I also, like to see, like with Ezilii, having this, highly detailed sort of small town feel, where it's not a big city. So you would see like a suburb would look a lot like.
So you can definitely see realistic traits in all the cities, it sounds like.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I guess with all the there's 370 major cities over 100,000 population, I think, in the country. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of variance in build style, and that's just talking about the United States. So I can understand that. Pretty much no matter how these guys build, it's going to be something found somewhere in the country. In terms of futuristic planning, though, which city do you think would be the most functional, given a high population, or if you were to find one of these cities somewhere in California 20 years from now, which one do you think would be the most functional?
Probably Karax's.
Okay.
Just because his layout is traffic friendly. It is vehicle centric.
But if we are looking towards a more public transit oriented future, do you think that would still be the ideal design?
No. So you're gonna. The problem is once you build it, it's kind of stuck. Like Slayer was saying, that's one of the issues you face is that once it kind of gets, people have lived there for a while, they don't want to change it. And so if you build that way now, you're just that's just how it's going to be. LA is a perfect example. You won't see a Tokyo in LA for a long, long time. Tokyo is a good example of a city where they took all of their low density and they don't even have zoning in Tokyo. They base it on something else. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head what it is, but it's not. They don't do zoning like residential, commercial.
Really interesting.
No, they base it on like height or something. So you see that that's why they have so much more density.
And that's
So, going to what Oogly Guy said in chat, can't have good mass transit without roads. Is that true?
Well, you need roads for like industrial and commercial movement of goods. And, people, as long as you design a mass transit system that fixes the first mile, last mile problem, you can build a, transit oriented type. But you always have to have some type of infrastructure in place to deliver industrial goods and move, things to like restaurants. Like, they have to be able to get their vegetables from the farmer. And so roads will never go away. But if you can orient your residential and commercial around transit for people moving, that's the way to do it.
I see. Okay. Yeah, just asking for clarification purposes. So thank you for explaining that. Yeah, it's definitely coming together quite interesting here. I love Jjamjim's attention to detail on this. I'm sorry. I've been fixating on his city for far too long here. Looking at all of them, Ezilii.
Yeah, the fact that you have Ezilii and JJ up, it's kind of neat because it seems sort of like they're focused on maybe not the same exact acreage, but they're both kind of smaller builds. Which again, not exactly what I expected from JJ. I thought it was going to go a little bit bigger, and that's not a complaint.
Yeah, like for what he's built, it's looking very beautiful. Yeah, I tried to kind of planned that out. Somebody's trying to break him right now, it looks like. That was $150 right there. Somebody's trying to distract this man. Yeah. I tried to kind of plan it out. I mean, I hadn't seen Imperial Jedi build, but I just had a feeling. Jjamjim, Ezilii on one scene, Karex and Imperial Jedi on the other. It seems like it fit pretty well. You're right. Got lucky on that one. So, yeah.
Yeah,
Flushing through here.
I think Jedi is starting to fill in a lot of the gaps now. Like I just saw him throwing in some like bigger blankets of zone.
I kind of have a feeling that's what JJ's going to do as well for the rest of the area. I think he may just do some more like themed zoning. Wow, 10,000 bit.
Woo!
Someone is really trying to mess with JJ.
That's $250 I've seen so far. He's stacking cheddar over there. He's a winner today, no matter what it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Ezilii, I think on her last city build, she did end up with some blank spots, but I think she did mention her plan this time was just kind of flush it out a little bit more, with trees or bushes or whatever she has to do to kind of build the city out at the end. So if it does come down to that, I do expect to see a little bit more flushed out of a city there for her. But thus far, yeah, she actually added those trees in up on the top side anyway, didn't she? No,
remember.
I think they might have come with the map.
No,
actually.
I think she was deleting trees at the start.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, and they're coming down. They got 25 minutes left now, so it's definitely coming down to crunch time for these folks.
Yeah.
You can see
KRX has another chunk of land ready to zone too.
He's
now,
trying to connect it, yeah.
Yeah, and now the like organic shapes are starting to look like they're starting to blend together, in my opinion, a little better. And it's starting like how he kind of curves the roads around like other like I really love when you see roads that, obviously work along with like the organic part of the wherever it is, like water lines and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I like it, the further you go inland, how those roads react to the roads that are reacting to the water line. And you're starting to see how like all those organic lines are going to kind of bring the city together.
Well, yeah, because in real life, you can't just make the ground go up and down when you want
Right.
it. You have to kind of, build around what you have.
Very true. Very true. Unless you're building through the Rockies. Got dynamite. I mean, there's plenty. I actually, the more I think about that, why can't they just bulldoze? I mean, they do it with freeways. They did it going through the mountains. Is it just cost that prevents people? Or
Erosion control is another part of that.
Okay.
Because like in LA, the LA basin, it's actually above sea level because of the silt that ran off of the mountains down into the basin. There used to be, like a valley, and then as the silt grew up, it became much. And so they just, you don't want to flatten out too much earth because then you don't have good erosion control, right? You don't have anywhere for the water to go when it rains, right? So you have to be very cognizant of that.
Okay. And as far as natural disaster planning goes, is that something that's being taken into consideration more heavily given the latest state of California?
Yeah, so they actually, in the latest update to the CEQA analysis for like project review, wildfires are now a consideration you have to consider when you're building and part of the problem is people building into the areas that naturally burned historically, right? So up in the hills where you have these homes that are getting destroyed in these wildfires, a lot of them, they're building them what's called the urban wildland and so the more you build into an area that historically has burned, the worse it's going to get. So now they want them to actually consider that as something, not just, just ignore it essentially.
I had heard that had been quite a problem, and God, the number of evacuations just absolutely threw me for a loop. I think it was something, or no, the power cuts. I think it was like 1.7 or 1.8 million people that were without power, or some of them are still without power at this point.
It's because a lot of the transmission lines are sparking these wildfires. So they're trying to reduce the risk during red flag days by cutting power, yeah.
Do you foresee that being something with a better solution that they may come to here soon, or do you see that being the long-term solution?
That is not a long-term solution. So as the infrastructure ages, it's only going to get worse. Honestly, their best option in a lot of those places is to go underground. I don't know why they haven't buried utilities in LA. I don't know why places like Dallas, they don't bury the utilities. I mean, we get enough tornadoes that, it makes sense to have your utilities underground.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't understand why you would ever put it above ground nowadays, unless cost, probably a cost thing, or
It's cheaper. Yeah, so, telephone poles are cheaper than having to cut, basically cut a giant trench in the ground.
yeah, especially if you're going through roads or sidewalks or yards or
Yeah, exactly.
easements or whatever. That makes sense. That definitely makes sense.
Hey, Slayer, what is Jedi doing exactly up there?
So right now he's I think that's the big roundabout system. What he's essentially setting is making sure that when traffic starts flowing through, it's going to go where he wants it. So he's trying to probably increase the efficiency by setting his own lanes. So what you'll see is like the far left lane, he's enforcing the fact that you have to take a left instead of being able to go into a straight line. Because sometimes what'll happen with the AIs, it'll get clogged up. So instead of them switching lanes like efficiently and doing their turn, like they might switch lanes in a weird spot, which clogs up traffic behind it. And so he's really trying to make it as efficient as possible by like forcing the game and the AI traffic to utilize certain lanes to go to certain places earlier versus them just like winging it.
That makes sense. Do you think he's going to have enough time to do that with this 5 roundabout system and still build the city out in 20 minutes?
Short answer, no. I mean,
yeah, lane management is a monster. I mean, trying to do this.
All I can put together like is maybe in the last little bit, if he gets it set up, what his plan is to hit, speed up on the system for like timing and just see how quickly he can fill in zones. Like, so I'm assuming the idea right now is like to get it ready to go so that like as people start coming into the city, because this is like what the major center of like where people are going to come in. I think it's built off the highway system. So my guess is like, okay, let's make sure this is as efficient as possible because you ramp up speed to try to get people to fill in all the housing.
That makes sense. Looks like JJ's going for a lot of cul-de-sacs.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Oh, those are the actual cul-de-sac from the mod. There is a cul-de-sac mod out there now, too. So these aren't the custom-made ones. These are the actual, from the Steam Workshop, cul-de-sac mod. So
what's interesting, sorry, I have to say this, what's interesting is it took how many years for us to get cul-de-sac?
Right? I can't get over that. The fact that we had to wait for a mod to come out for cul-de-sacs. But you know what? We got them. They're here. We don't have to like put little tiny roundabouts in anymore or try to cheat it with some wasn't there a cul-de-sac road through network extensions?
I'm not sure. I know like some folks would use like parking lot roads, I think, or something like that, and they'd crush it to make it look real small and create a loop. I don't know how effective that was. I only used it in a couple scenarios, but a lot of times I would just almost try to avoid doing a lot of cul-de-sacs because you just couldn't get the right.
Yeah, my
funny
last.
because they're very common.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
so
they
common.
are.
In a lot
They
of
are.
places.
Incredibly common. Building houses right underneath the freeway. I don't know about that from Jjamjim. I don't want to live directly under a freeway off ramp or on ramp. But
It depends on how busy it is, I guess.
yeah, is
There
that
are-
common?
There are sound mitigation measures you can take. Walls are very good. Sound absorbing materials can reduce the noise effect.
Yeah, I can imagine it's probably not that bad. I lived in an apartment prior to moving here that was directly up against the freeway with no sound barrier or anything, just a chain link fence. And, it's noisy. It's noisy all day and all night. But after a little while, it just kind of gets tuned out like the ocean. That's the thing I noticed. It was almost like the ocean, like listening to the beach, waking up to the beach. It was the weirdest thing. I hate to sound like ghetto or anything, but yeah, man, freeway is like an urban beach sound to fall asleep to.
Well, and trains too. I mean, you look at cities like New York City and Chicago that have elevated train systems.
Ooh, yeah, and you have to deal with that
people
noise
live right up against-
constantly.
Yeah, but you just get used to it.
Kind of
So
do.
it's like same thing with it's kind of like that alarm fatigue. As you get used to a sound, your body just kind of naturally tunes it out.
Very true. Very true. Well, one thing that's going to be filling these guys with alarm, speaking of alarms, 17 minutes until this wraps up, and it's coming down to the wire. They're going to have to make those final touches here soon. You always use small circular one-way roads. Yeah, see, that's something I've seen that was pretty common. And yeah, if you guys have any questions for the judges out there, now's a great time to ask. So feel free to shout those questions out in chat. We will we'll answer anything you got out there. Yeah, sometimes chat gets quiet. Yeah, that happens.
Ask me a question, Oogly. Do it.
Ask this man. I would normally be able to fill dead air, but lack of sleep is just really draining me. Going back to Imperial Jedi's lane management on this thing, I feel like this is pretty impressive. If he actually gets this thing flowing without any errors, that's actually going to be kind of a feat. I mean, I know it seems pretty straightforward. You connect the dots, but so often it's so easy to forget that perhaps like one node isn't connected or one lane doesn't turn left when it needs to, and it can just destroy a little system like this and leave you for 20 minutes trying to figure out how you fix it, where you went wrong. So he's going to have to pull this off first try, which isn't the most difficult thing in the world, but it can be a problem. And we'll see if he's able to do that.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious why he decided to go with this 5 roundabout system, knowing that he was going to have to do this heavy amount of traffic management to get it to work properly.
He really wanted left-hand driving. And if you notice here on the inlet roads, it actually is left-hand driving coming in there. Yeah.
But I feel like you could have made it left-hand drive in a much easier way.
Without
Maybe
5
Slayer-
roundabouts?
maybe Slayer can speak to that more than I can.
Yeah, what's the minimum number of roundabouts needed to adjust from a left-hand driving to a right-handed driving scenario?
That's too much math. I'm sorry. Too much math. I don't know. I've never, honestly, at one point I was going to do a European city and I was going to try all of this. And then I decided I think I'm better suited for just sort of American-styled cities. So I've stuck with that. This is new territory for me.
I mean, couldn't you just take the 2 roads and have one either go under or over the other side to switch it?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, you said, how do they do it in Hong Kong to China?
Yeah, it literally is just one highway just goes over the other one and becomes the other side of the highway at that point. It's just has a crisscross right in the center.
Yeah, they just switch over. Diverging diamond interchange, perhaps, without the second diverging?
Yeah, like I know you can switch all of it. So like there is I think Oogly said there's a switch you can do to like make it all left-hand traffic, but this is a unique challenge. I'm not familiar with it. It's an interesting system, but it is a lot for a 2-hour race, and now there he's ramping up speed.
The mods will remind the players they've got less than 15 minutes at this point.
Oh yeah. Mods, if you're out there
and
watching,
if you look at what Jedi's doing now, he just ramped up the speed. Oh, he slowed it back down actually. So
nice.
There it goes again. He's ramping it up, so now he's gonna start filling in all the zones.
So he knows he's coming down to the wire. He's getting in on that. KRX is the only person who's really taken major advantage of the Industries DLC, it seems like, too. Because I think, I'm not certain, but I could have swore I saw Jedi had some universities down, or university campus, or some of the buildings at the very least. Oh, he's starting to hit problems on his traffic there, too. That's going to be problematic for him. Hopefully he can get citizens into the city fast enough to actually flush this out. Because he is going to have a nightmare with this. But, it was a creative build. I got to give him props for that. He tried to do something creative, and it may pay off for him. Because ultimately...
But he's got so much practice with the Traffic Manager President Edition. You can see he just went in there and flipped a switch, and it sped it up again. Like it was, I think it was cars waiting on other vehicles to make it through the intersection or something like that.
Oh, yeah. The treat it like not an intersection, whatever that thing is. Yeah, for sure. KRX is backing out on some of this. He's deleting some of his buildings. He might be redoing his little section there. Oh, you already answered. 6,500 per loading screen mod. What does that mean?
Yeah, so loading screen mod says I'm like at 65 or 6,800 assets. But it's not really 6,500 individual pieces. I think what it's based off is links. So you might have an asset that links to, let's say, a specific tree, right?
Right.
And then you might have another asset that links to that tree, and then that counts as 2 assets. So if it says 6,500, it's just really the links from an asset to an item or a prop or something like that.
I've
like,
kind of
it
noticed
kinda-
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
where
like
you install a
could you
hotel
imagine-
and it's like 40 new assets.
Yeah, could you imagine downloading 6,500 assets? Like that would take so long. For a minute there, I was like, "Wow, I've downloaded a lot," because I was downloading collections, and then I'm like, "Wait a minute, something's wrong. This is this isn't exactly accurate." So I usually just say per loading screen mod because it at least gives you an indication of size.
Gotcha.
And it's a 15 to 20 minute load to load up cities.
Is it really?
Yes, for me.
Man, I think I have I think I usually run between 2,000 and 3,500 assets. And when I say that, like sometimes I go through my stuff and I'm like, I download way too many collections, man. There's stuff in there I'm just never going to touch. But then there's, it's kind of cool in a way to have it all available, because then when you go looking for rock, you have 700 to choose from.
Right.
Just kind of works out. 69 assets coming in from Fear Rider. So
I remember
nice.
those days.
Yeah.
I have default, so I have no assets.
You have no assets, really? You play vanilla base game?
Yeah, when I play, it's all base game.
Interesting. Have you been playing much lately? I guess that's a good question to ask you 2 hours in.
Not recently, no.
No? Okay. Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of Coaster, which is sort of like the theme park edition of Skylines, if you want to think of it that way. So I have a lot of assets for that game.
Have you checked out Planet Zoo?
Slayer was actually mentioned that when you were talking to the players, and I'm definitely going to take a look at it, yeah.
Okay, yeah, that seems to be a really popular one right now. It seems like a lot of the sim players have been switching from either Skylines or SimCity over to that, trying it out.
It's a nice change of pace, because it's a obviously you can get super detail oriented because it's a smaller setting, right? It's a zoo, not a city.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a nice shift to let's go see what this is like for a little while. It doesn't replace cities, but it's it's one of those things you can kind of jump to and just plant trees for a couple hours, which I do in cities anyway, but on a larger scale.
And we are down to 10 minutes.
10 minutes. I don't know if we do have
Jedi
mods
is
in chat,
still
but
messing with his 5 roundabout.
now I remember why I named these scenes instead of just streamer 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's kind of difficult to figure out which one Jedi is.
And Slayer was spot on with JJ. He is now mass planting trees across the whole area.
Yeah, and you're going to see KRX do that here in just a couple minutes. And it's just going to give the whole place just a finished look. Because, like we were talking about earlier, there's usually not just there's dead space, but there's usually trees, depending on where you are. Like your desert, yeah, you just got dead space. But, down in Georgia where I am, it's just trees, pine trees everywhere. So
right.
It's a good way to fill in and at least make it look like you touched an area.
Same with Oregon as well. I mean, there's really no dead space. If it's not a farm field, it's a forest. And if it's not a forest, it's a soccer field. Like it's all developed land. I'm sure that's pretty common over in Europe too. But yeah, I would guess that much of the Midwest. I haven't really been around much of the Midwest. Is it less developed out there?
I mean, from flying over, because I go up, I'm up in Chicago a couple times a year, and just flying over Indiana and some of those spots, it's so much just farms. It's grid system of farms, so it's just you're flying over and it's just different tones of brown and green and that sort of thing, which is kind of interesting to look at. And then you land in Chicago, which is just this metropolis. But it's just you just have these just grids of just different sized just land plots.
See, I haven't been lucky enough to see it. Go
Texas
ahead.
is kind of a good example of where you have in the west side of the state, it's kind of this scrubland, farms and big ranches. And then you go east and you have trees and you've got, all the stuff going into Louisiana where it turns into a swamp. It's like you have almost every type of biome you can imagine, in one state. El Paso's, Houston is basically a swamp. I mean, they're at sea level, I should say. They have trees and all kinds of stuff down there. But then you get to places like Dallas where it's, mostly just flat grasslands.
Looks like Jedi's areas are starting to fill in pretty nicely now. He's got it sped up, so he's just like waiting for people to move in. But you see like how the houses are popping up in some areas and really starting to make like all the design work he did look very.
Yeah, some nice little row houses there. And he started off with a lot of unique buildings.
Yeah.
More so than the other players did too. So that's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. Sorry, I'm totally dying here.
I'm curious to see how far he can get in the next like 7 minutes in terms of just like how quickly the zones will fill. I don't know if he has. It doesn't look like he has Demand Master on.
It doesn't. No, he's down at 0 demand across the board. Imperial Jedi is, and we are saying Jjamjim has Demand Master on for sure.
Yeah. So does Karax.
Karax does as well. Ezilii doesn't seem to. And her area is nice and compact here. I like the way she's kind of kept it contained. Again, the enter in chat, !enter. If you haven't entered for the free copy of City Skylines, !enter gets you into that giveaway. So we're coming down to the wire on when we'll be drawing. Of course, we'll be drawing it after the winner's announced. So you'll want to stick around for that. But yeah, we just want to make sure everybody gets a chance to get in there. Because it's available in all the streams, so definitely go to all the streams and enter in all of them. This is like our way of baiting you into the other streams. Ezilii, yeah, so this one looks far more complete than I think her previous did. And I think it's the trees. I think the trees just make such a massive difference. And she's throwing her arms up. I think she might be about done.
No, hers definitely looks, like a little seaside community. And I think JJ definitely has gotten that sort of European canal feel in that area that he's, focused on. I think Karax and Jedi, Karax, he's got a lot already going on. He's just kind of fleshing out this middle area, but I'm kind of curious to see if Jedi's going to have enough time, with his demand being so low to actually flesh out the rest of the city, because he laid out a massive area, and now he sort of has these spots, where nothing's being built.
For sure. Yeah, it's... Imperial Jedi's got a lot of space to fill in 5 minutes. I can say that much. The overall design.
He would definitely win ambitious though. That's for sure.
He did. He definitely did. DC, no, we don't have any of the DLC codes for giveaway this time. We might next time. I don't know. I guess it all comes down to Paradox, because Paradox was kind enough to provide us with these game keys for this. They were supposedly here watching today, so hopefully they enjoyed it, and hopefully they want to work together in the future. Maybe calling them out's not the best idea, but I might not be the best planner when it comes to stuff.
Not the worst idea either.
Yeah, also not the worst idea. So
I mean, shout out to Paradox for giving us a game that, where SimCity sort of fell flat on its face with a updated, Paradox stepped in and gave us a game that was what, those of us that grew up with SimCity loved, but gave us the freedom to kind of do what we wanted and what we kind of expected in the next iteration, not this, what SimCity, what do they call it? SimCity Unlimited or whatever it was that EA came out with that was supposed to be the next generation of SimCity, and it just wasn't the same feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Colossal Order, though, is actually, this is something I had to learn in the process of going about this. Paradox is the publisher. Colossal Order is the developer. So Colossal Order actually made the game. Paradox does the promotion, the marketing, the website, like all the front-facing PR stuff. So from what I understand, that's what publishers do. They're the customer-facing side. So
kind of like Activision is. They're primarily a publishing house. They're not a developer.
Exactly.
But Maxis, the original developer, did get bought out by EA, I believe.
Oh, okay. And it could be a situation like that, too, where Paradox owns Colossal Order. I'm not entirely sure. So, yeah, regardless, we got 3 minutes left till this kicks off. Yeah, Quan, Jen, just so you know, too, that's all. You just got to let them know when to stop, and then you will let them know whether they won or lost. That's all you'll have to do. So I will, after this is wrapped up, we're going to go through and interview each and every one of these players, talk about their city a little bit, talk about what they've done, give them a chance to showcase it for you. Then we're going to turn it over to the judges. The judges are going to make their final decision on which the top two are. And then we're going to hand that voting over to the audiences. And at that time, I will provide you with a link as well as this chat with a link. I'll post the link in chat here. You can copy it over there if hopefully you're still here. And that straw poll link will allow you to vote. Will allow everybody in all the streams to vote on those top 2, which way they want to go. So yeah, that's how it's going to work. And then I'll jump in a call with the winner, and then we'll announce the winner of the giveaway. And that's it for tonight. That's the wrap right there, Jen. 2 minutes. Took me a full minute to explain that. God, this time goes so fast. You know what I'm saying? Like, I watching back the speed build competition from the last one, the amount of time, like as I'm watching the builds go, it's like I can't believe the clock's already out. And I'm sure as a builder, they got to be feeling the same thing. Like as this clock runs down, it's like crap. It's really that time already. Ezilii and Jjamjim feel a little bit ahead of the game. KRX is playing a bit of catch up here towards the tail end. You can see he's moving pretty quickly to try to get those final touches down. He's got 1:28 left to do this. And Jedi, yeah, I bet Jedi is stressing because he's got a lot of blank space left here. He did so much, but like he mentioned, 6 hours would be so much better to get all these things done. And he might need a couple more hours on this city to really get it looking top shape.
I think if he had Demand Master turned on, it might have helped him a little bit.
Yeah, Demand Master might have made a major impact, especially if he had waited this long to flush it out. But as we mentioned before, it's his first speed build.
I mean, I think he's got all the pieces there. That would just be the maybe one thing that seems to be missing is just filling in the gaps. Because like the road design, the trains, all that stuff, it's gorgeous. But it's just I want to see those buildings filled up because I'm sure it would look amazing.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if it comes through. And yeah, Kiggy, I saw your message there. I hate how any period will make something a link. 1 hour gone, 2 hours gone. Obviously not a link. But 30 seconds remaining, folks. 30 seconds remaining. So mods, get ready to tell them they're out of time. Ezilii seems pretty stable right now.
She's content, yeah.
She's content with what she's got. Jedi's trying to get those final last buildings in. 10 seconds left. KRX. He did manage to get the 2 cities connected. I like that. I like that he managed to pull that off just in time. Great timing from him. But we are out of time. That's 0 seconds on the clock. So go ahead and cut him off, everybody. Let's stop him. Oh, Jedi's trying to get those trees. He's not even going to look at chat. He's going to just put trees down. Bet. Nope, he got word. He got word. There we go. Hands up. All right. So, guys, I really appreciate you being here with me on this. I'm going to go pop over to the players, and we're going to start talking them through it. So feel free to tune into their streams so you can hear their feedback on their cities so that you can make a more well-informed decision.
Sounds good.
All right. Let's go ahead and start at the top of the list here. We're going to pop straight over to Imperial Jedi. How you doing, man?
Just removing these trees for this that I can. Don't judge. I hope I'm not disqualified for
For removing trees?
There's 3 right there. Okay, I'm done.
Okay. Well, I can't stop you if you're already done. 3 trees too many. All right. Well, talk us through your city. Tell us how you built.
You mean my town or my small park or whatever you want to call it?
Whatever you want to call it. I think it's got a lot of great individual aspects. It may not have all flushed out fully, but talk us through it here. I'll give you about 2 or 3 minutes here.
All right. So to start, because the original map was going to be a left-hand drive, I wanted to kind of pay homage to that thought process. So we're still going with a left-hand drive map here. In my travels to the UK, I've seen tons of these crazy crisscross style UK whatever junctions. So tons of those. And then I thought, what more traditional than a roundabout? And then what's more traditional than the Swindon roundabout, right? So I went for that for this build over here. I used some cool custom train assets, got some elevated trains over there, some British style rails too. And just like a ton of European styled like churches and buildings. But really the main thing is the Swindon roundabout here.
Yeah, that was really an interesting design choice. A Swindon roundabout, you said.
Yeah, so it's pretty much mirrored after that one. So it's 5 roundabouts on the exterior, and the center makes a counter swing roundabout. So like right hand.
I see. Okay, because somebody came in, I think from your stream, to talk to me about this and said they had a roundabout like this in their city, but I thought they were talking about a different style of roundabout that we were talking about.
I think as many as 5 of these in real life. Yeah.
That's impressive. Okay.
It makes no sense when you actually look at it, and if you try to drive it, you'll be like, what the? But then it just, I don't know, kind of does at the same time.
I also heard you did some individual district themes as well.
I started with that, but then I quickly abandoned it because I realized how time consuming, and I applied the same district theme throughout the actual entire city. So it was just this UK housing pack that I put in. I kind of mixed up a few little custom ones with that, but
yeah, I
it's
like
a lot of the same kind of repeater house, which I think was kind of nice and true to British form.
It does. So it seems like you did a great job of matching the British styling. You included the train tracks that match the theme, the buildings, the roundabouts, even road design seems to fit that, and then the train integration as well.
Yeah. And I used like a UK road texture pack too, so it looks kind of convincing, sort of.
Gotcha.
I was going to do a really cool grandiose tram network, ran out of time, unfortunately. I was going for like a really cool historic old vibe here, especially with the way the streets and everything were laid.
Yeah, if only we had 5-6 hours to build these out.
I was saying to my chat though, it's like even if we did have 5 or 6 hours, by the end of it, I'd be like, oh god, I wish we had more time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, any final features of this you want to show off to the judges, to the audience before we move on?
This was supposed to be a grandiose university campus, kind of old school vibes. And I don't know if you can tell, but it has the train line actually makes its way over here too with this really cool sunken station.
Oh, interesting. I didn't notice that. That's a nice little feature.
And something else which I really wanted to showcase, but I didn't really get enough of it done, is I was doing a pretty extensive bike network throughout, and I was doing that in the form of layering pathways next to roads. Then I would sneak buildings in too, so we could still zone.
Yeah, adding that extra layer of walkway, that's something the judges noticed as well. So I think they're giving you a little bit of a thumbs up for that, because that attention to detail is really important. Especially Eddie was talking specifically about the importance of public transit and walking routes for people in larger cities.
I don't mean to interrupt you. It just started to rain, so I got to win right now for this, right? UK style, and it's raining. I mean, come on, seal the deal, right?
Perfect, man, perfect. Well, I wish you the best of luck on this. I'm going to go ahead and pop over to the next person, and good luck.
Dude,
good luck, Jedi.
Thanks for having me, too, man. This was awesome.
I'm glad you had a good time. Not a problem.
It's basically a square.
Yo,
Terminator
Ezilii.
100 bonus
Hey.
to unscrew this up Slayer.
What is shaking?
What is shaking? Sorry, I just got a 100-bit donation. Thank you so much, Shirley. I appreciate that. Yeah, what is shaking? Talk us through this. I noticed you got done like 5 minutes early this time.
Dude, I was like, what's up?
I mean, it looked about done, so I saw no reason. Like, you know, when a cake's baked, you don't bake it for another 5 minutes. You let it.
Sure, you
sit.
do. It's called burning it.
Well, your city definitely doesn't look like burnt cake. Why don't you go ahead and talk me through it? Talk me through the features. Talk the audience through the features. Judges are watching too, and 3 minutes on the clock there.
So we got our fire department. Their one little station, complete with their grill and basketball court. Little neighborhood. I'm sure we were theorizing whether they're good neighbors with these guys. I'm pretty sure they're firefighters, right?
Mhm.
They gotta be. Our local school has plenty of parking for their staff. Of course, the kids run away, right? They can run away.
Of course.
So the town is this old town by the river that has had an upgrade. It was founded to supply the steel mill with workers, which is way over here on the horizon.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that part did still stay integrated. I like that. Okay.
I kind of left it separate, but it's kind of there, and the town is looking to grow. But they did get with the 1960s and get down with the tram line. So now there's a tram line that takes people through the older parts of downtown, which is basically the entire town at this point. It's mixed use here in the middle. We've got residential, we've got commercial, we've got industry, old river industry. Obviously, if I had more time, I would be building docks, but you know what? Docks have to look a certain way in order for me to be satisfied, and that's going to take at least 7 hours.
Now, I gotta say, your city definitely has one of the more realistic vibes to it from cities I've seen in real life. I mean, this just when you did that like slow pan down the main street there. It reminded me so much of so many towns here locally, these older 100-year-old towns with the brick buildings. I got to point out too, your attention to detail with things like building the dumpster container room back there by the fire department or by the school.
They gotta throw stuff away. Come
They
on
do,
now.
yeah. Little features like that, I think, are really key. I mean, they're a key part of your build here, so definitely not something to understate.
They're everywhere. Obviously, once we started placing stuff like this apartment building,
Mhm.
and then their dumpster.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, you got.
They gotta
right
be
in
able
there.
to throw stuff away, right? Like
They do.
they gotta throw it away. They gotta. Hopefully, they're recycling because there's a recycle center in there.
Great incorporation too, using the zoo fences, I think it is, for that. And then, are these custom assets? These buildings, are these off the workshop?
So one is a zoo and one is the mining fence. This one I do believe is from the workshop.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I've got 2,000 assets, so it's kind of hard to.
Oh, I totally understand. Where you're just like, I don't know if this is base game. I like. I get that.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's.
I
on
did
your...
have to terraform here to get this to be flat, and then once I realized that that's going to take up a lot of time, I just I didn't build any large buildings on that spot of the. I just zoned small.
That's true. Yeah, you did build up that key around that building too. So that's another really cool feature. Were there any other features you wanted to cover really quickly before we moved on?
I zoned.
You zoned. You know what? That right there in and of itself is something new for Ezilii. For anybody out there who doesn't know, I can see Slayer laughing right now. I can
haven't
see it on his
zoned in
face.
like 6 years.
Wow. So we broke you out of your shell a little bit here today.
No, I've zoned for tutorials on YouTube. So
Oh, okay. So we don't get to claim that. All right.
movie magic,
Of course. All right, Ezilii. Well, good luck in this. I'm going to go ahead and pop over to the next player.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Disqualified.
All right. So we're going to cut over to Jjamjim, the man himself. How you doing, dude?
What's up, dude?
Yo, how you feeling?
I feel pretty good. I feel very happy with what we built here. It's nothing crazy, it's nothing huge, but I feel really happy with just the quaintness of what we built here.
Now, I'm curious, before we get into any of the additional details on the city, did you or did you not put a ferry line through the center of your city?
I did not.
Okay.
Did not get to the ferry line yet. That was
I
all.
gotcha.
That was in the plans. But when I knew I wasn't going to be able to have the ferry lines in, I sort of ended them with these little walkways that go across.
Oh, that's
either
true.
side.
Yeah, I saw you putting those in. That was a good touch.
Yeah.
Now, talk us through the city here. We got about 2 minutes on. Take us through it.
Yeah. So basically, the entire city is surrounded by the canals. So that's the canal is like the centerpiece. So everything along the road, the tiny road here, is residential, all facing the canals. And we have an elevated tram road that actually doesn't have any trams on it because we had no lower connection point. I was sort of thinking through infrastructure before I realized how far I was going to get.
Mhm.
So I had this raised tram road coming through, but then I realized that we weren't actually able to get to the trams by then. But so it's a lot of trees, a lot of fences lining things. I put some separation between commercial and the residential here so people could walk along the pathways. And then on these back roads is all commercial on all of these over here. And so the crossways, and then these little gaps here between the roundabout, I sort of just put parks through here and then had lined roads. I wanted to integrate because we kind of did a really wonky, kind of unorthodox looking roundabout system to have traffic in and off, because this is the actual entrance to the city. This is the only way right now people can get in and out.
Oh, wow. So it all comes off
Yep.
that one circle. That's a nice
Yep,
big
because-
traffic circle, though.
Yeah, so they enter the tram road and then come across,
Mhm.
and then they come down on various points of this and go around. And normally I kind of shy away. I usually create my roundabouts as highways, but I wanted to connect it to the city and make it feel a little bit more grown in. So that's why I put the walking paths through, because it's a smaller town. It's a smaller, quaint little village. So I wanted to give that feel of like you could cross the street and it's okay, it's safe, right? Because it's like smaller for right now.
Yeah,
So-
and even with that being the major ingress and egress point for the city, you're right. I mean, it does seem to have a very low traffic flow. This half of the city mainly being residential too.
Yeah.
I think frees that up. And so yeah, that walking path I think was a brilliant touch.
Yeah, it just kind of, does some nice things. And then adding the cul-de-sacs sort of on these, like the suburban side of the roundabout, I guess you could say. Higher end homes here on the suburbs along the actual lakefront. And then we have just a small dirt road here that goes out with some fishing piers on the other side and a broken down lighthouse. And so I wanted it to feel kind of very mountainy, sort of tucked away, sort of, in the mountains, right? With the waterways coming through. And just like a little small slice of life type of town here.
Well, I absolutely love what you've done here, man. I think you
thanks,
did
dude.
fantastic work. I'm going to wish you luck here, and we're going to pop over to KRX for our final assessment. But yeah, good luck to you, dude. We will
Sounds good, man.
have your mods let you know.
Awesome. Thanks,
All
Lemon
right.
Pops. Appreciate you.
You too. Okay.
I know. That's so funny. What's up, Lemon Pops?
You know. Hello. How's it going, man?
It's going good.
Good. So how do you feel?
I feel pretty good, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah. So spending 1 hour terraforming and 1 hour building. We spent 2 hours building, I think, for the most part.
Yeah, and I noticed you were actually able to get the two cities connected up. I was getting a little worried there towards the end that they wouldn't be able to meet up the way you wanted, but it looks like you were able to connect those areas pretty firmly.
Yeah. Yeah, basically that was the idea, right? Is that we were going to have sort of like an agricultural community out here. That was, I guess, sort of the main bit of the initial build here. Sort of raw material production, processing more kind of over here, distribution down here. So it kind of has a little bit of a flow. That's usually how I make the industrial sections. We actually have a cargo train set up there for that one, but not for the forestry. Second town, little neighborhood kind of in between the two towns, but the second town's a little bit more, I guess, the downtown area, and also kind of like with the sort of maybe once upon a time it was, the forestry town, and then it's sort of like become modernized or whatever. Maybe it's a tourist hub or something now or something, and kind of just ended up putting in some downtown there to kind of boost the pop a little bit. Unfortunately, I cannot claim credit for the interchanges. We did use some pre-built ones by Melina B, but I think they actually guided us pretty well in terms of kind of like how they fan out kind of non-symmetrically. It was kind of fun to work with those curves and stuff like that and kind of mimic those. But that's basically, I mean, we kind of tried to just make everything. We don't really have anything amazing to zoom in on. We did end up doing a couple park life parks, and this was just like, I mean, we just slapped this down. It's like a zoo theme park, city park thing. I don't know. We tried to make the water kind of make it look interesting rather than actually, placing the buildings down with a lot of thoughtfulness. A little bit of a nature park back here. Probably needed more trees through here. I guess we forgot to brush them in there.
Yeah, lots of little inlets there on that lake. And that was something that I noticed with your city too. Just a quick question. Does this
What's up?
does the major part of the city, I can't quite tell if it connects up to the riverfront portion there, outside of that one highway road. Are there
The
other
major part of the
inlets?
city?
Yeah, so
What's
like just from this angle I think I can see
Okay,
actually.
so if we're looking at the freeway system,
I guess
just in
that's the
general, this
question.
one goes off into the main factory sort of processing industrial area here. This, of course, will just continue through. This was kind of just a random country road. But I believe there is a connection here for the sort of the low density that lives off the freeway here.
Okay.
So this is how people can kind of like get from here to here. One goes under, one just connects here. But we have these set up, like we use Traffic Manager here to make it so that these people have to turn right. But these people are coming in and they need to get over here. They have to go this way and backtrack under here to go up, essentially. So it keeps people moving right. You don't have anyone making turns.
Very smart.
Which actually, now that I'm thinking about this, the only way there'd be a left turn is if we connected. Anyways, but it ends up making it so we don't have to merge those two together, I guess, which keeps everybody making right turns. Over here, though, this actually wraps around to one tail. There's a little tunnel right here. It does not connect with the forestry or the side neighborhood. Actually, it does connect with the side neighborhood. Low density residential, so a connection there isn't going to really bog down that freeway traffic. not a lot of people actually live out here. Tunnel kind of comes over here to kind of join in this way and kind of sandwich this downtown area. This area here kind of does eventually kind of work its way to this little roundabout and feeds into the downtown. So the downtown's kind of being attached at the two wings, I guess.
Okay.
One with the tunnel, one through this roundabout over here that kind of is a really roundabout way of getting there. And then this middle one just goes right into the forestry area here. I think when we were looking at this, surprisingly,
I think that was a beautiful touch. I mean, not to cut you off there, but like, yeah, the fact that there's so many intricacies with your city build here. For example, like the industries thing, that's sort of my forte. The way you set up the flow there with the production buildings being in line with the second tier buildings, being in line with the distribution buildings, being in line with all that was a very astute design right there. It's not just randomly laid out for anybody out there in the audience looking. That's a very intentional design. And the way he did his road connections here too, definitely intelligently laid out. So I got to give you props for that, man. This is a very well thought out city, for sure. Just no question about it.
Well, I appreciate that, dude. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me show it off.
Happy to, man. Happy to. I am going to go ahead and stop it there, though. Did you have any last words for the audience, though, before I go to voting with the judges? Any last things you want to show off here?
I think we're good in terms of showing it off. I'd say just, check out all the amazing people that were competing today. And Lemon Pops, thank you again for hosting it.
Oh, my pleasure, man. My pleasure. All right. Well, we're going to go into the voting stage, so just keep an eye out for your mod, and we'll let you know.
Sounds good.
Okay, we're coming back around here to the judges. So, Eddie and Slayer, you guys get to answer the $1 million question here today, because this is a tough one. I gotta say it's a tough one. I know it's got to be a tough one for you. Let's go with Slayer first. We're gonna
come on.
No, we'll go with Eddie first. We'll go with Eddie first because he's only done this once. We'll put you on the spot to actually be the decider. So we'll make it even worse for you, Slayer.
So
Eddie,
we've been talking a lot in the background while you were talking to those, all the players. I mean, it's everybody has their strengths and weaknesses, and it's a tough choice. To say the least.
Yeah.
We kind of talked about it. KRX definitely had the most complete large city. Jedi, if he had just had Demand Master in a little bit more time, I think his would have been probably, my number one pick. But there's a lot of dead space. It's tough to kind of, see the vision completely.
Mm-hmm.
I really like JJ's canal layout. It feels very, organic outside of that as well. The L bend in the highway, that's a little dangerous. Going speed,
it's 70 miles an hour. Yeah.
make a right turn all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
And again, Ezilii, she put a lot of detail into all the buildings that she was placing down. So it's definitely a tough choice. But I gotta say, I think I'm gonna go with JJ and KRX on this one.
JJ and KRX. Well, you get to pick one. So you're going with JJ?
So I think I'm gonna go with JJ. Yeah, I really like the feel. I like the way it looks. I think, for me, that's definitely one.
All right. Well, cool. Well, then we have our first of two selected for the final round voting. And remember, everybody out there in the audience, you're going to get a chance to vote on which of these two is actually going to come out on top. So that vote's going to come down to you. Who our second person's going to be that you get to vote on is now down to Slayer.
I should have went first.
You should have went first, man. I had to put you on the spot because you got experience with these. So and you know these players too. You know all of them. So this is like, who do you want to burn the least today?
Why did you put it that way? This is terrible.
I know. I'm just the worst host, man. I'm sorry.
We talked about this extensively, and this is such a pain to have to choose. I definitely think Jedi, if this would have been filled in, Demand Master, I could see Jedi in another hour or two having just something insane, especially with the train running through it and everything like that. He's got the foundation for something pretty incredible. Especially with the layout, how he's got some of these bigger items placed, it's gorgeous. Now the other three is where it gets it's all tight. I see exactly where Jedi's going, and he's again right of track. The other three, it's tough. You know, like Eddie said, Karex has got the most complete large city. I think that was down to him and Jedi to kind of battle that one out. JJ and Ezilii stuck to smaller places, which is, you know, pretty awesome. I really love what JJ did. The organic lines mixed with some of the canal. I think that's super creative. Now for Ezilii, like 1950s, 1960s kind of downtown feel is what I gather from that. And I think she made a comment about that with like the trolleys and stuff like that. And that's really neat. God, I'm struggling because I think,
I know it's a tough position to be in. I mean, you got to choose between Ezilii, KRX, and Imperial Jedi on this one. And like you said, I mean, Jedi, you can tell like his city in another hour or two might have taken this hands down. But the amount of detail work that Ezilii's done has just been fantastic. And KRX, I mean, he is just an incredible builder all around. Jedi's freaking out now. He's pulling me up on his stream. He's like, "What's going on, man?" All right.
Oh, geez.
So,
I'm trying to narrow it down. I'm really trying.
Yeah, they are so unique and amazing. MFF. I would hate to be in Slayer's spot right now. I really would.
This sucks. I am so torn because I love both of them. Sorry, I'm trying to make a decision, Lemon. I really am.
That's okay. That's okay. We'll put a clock on you to make it even tougher. We'll say you got 30 seconds.
How much time? 30? Shit.
You got 30 seconds to decide. Who's it going to be? KRX, Ezilii, or Imperial Jedi? Now, again, I'll talk until you just blurt it out. So, Ezilii, a highly detail-focused build. KRX, the perfect urban sprawl city, as Eddie so delicately put it, I guess. Maybe delicate's not the right word, but a well thought out and a well designed city with lots of great road design, lots of great traffic flow. Imperial Jedi with his possibility, his incredible attention to detail, his themes, the European theme, the roundabout, the 5-part roundabout. I mean, you're out of 30 seconds, man.
Yeah, I'm rolling a D20.
You're rolling a D20. He's rolling a dice for this one, folks. He is actually rolling the dice. Hold on.
I kind of feel, I feel for him because we discussed this a lot while you were away, and yeah, it's a really hard choice.
It really is. I mean, if we could pick all of them as winners, I would.
Here's what I'm going to go with, and Ezilii's going to kick me for this. My one drawback on Ezilii and what she did, and Eddie and I talked about this, is that there's a little bit of a gap. I wanted to see a little bit more like residential added around the downtown, and like whereas KRX, I could say there's some dead space that I wish he had a little bit more time to fill, but overall he built a lot. So I think my vote for right now is KRX.
KRX, you got it. All right. Well, there you go, folks. That officially puts Imperial Jedi and Ezilii out of the running for this one. So if you guys are modding for one of those chats, you can go give them a congratulatory hug for me. Throw some love at them. Go give them a follow at the very least, because these guys have put on incredible builds here today. And I really hope they know that, because like it's so hard to just say like, hey, you didn't win. You know, like these guys, I wouldn't call it not winning. Just not winning is hard. It would be the way I would phrase it. They really did do incredible work. And I want to give a lot of thanks for Imperial Jedi and Ezilii for coming out for this yet again. But they are tapped out officially. So we're going to hand this over to you in chat. Now, I'm not sure if they're going to still want to have votes in their chat on this. So you may want to go to one of those two streams. You may want to go to our remaining two contestants, Jjamjim or KRX in this case, because that's what we're down to.
I would definitely love to see both of them come back and compete again. I think.
Oh, for sure.
Especially for Jedi, the first time out, he had a grand vision, and just given a little bit more time, or maybe using Demand Master to kind of fill in the spaces a little bit faster, I think he would have had an amazing build in 2 hours.
Yeah, I would love to see Jedi back 100%, just because, again, I think another little bit of time, and you can see where he's going and what he's making. It's just pretty incredible, especially with the train lines and stuff. And at night, that thing looks...
For sure.
And
For
I think
sure.
Ezilii, I think you commented on this, Lemon, like Ezilii playing a little out of her element and like building like a much larger place this time around, I think was a huge benefit. And it looks amazing, like Northwestern style, like
Yeah. I mean, it looked like downtown Salem to me. I mean, which is our capital here in Oregon. Like it like when she zoomed in on that street, I'm like, oh my God, this is Salem, Oregon. The brick built, like I could almost like go to downtown and take pictures and it would look like this. It was so incredible. But I did put the straw poll link in chat. So if you've not voted yet, you'll want to vote now. And if you haven't, I'm assuming Jen, you said that they all got the vote. Everybody's got the vote out there. KRX's chat's got the vote. Jjamjim, they've all got it. How do you vote? So the link is right here in chat. It's a straw poll link. You just click on that link. And actually, I think it goes at the top of chat, too. You can just click at the top of chat, and it's, like, integrated nowadays. So that'll allow you to vote. And we'll give it just a couple minutes here. Let's put 3 minutes on the clock. We'll put 3 more minutes on the clock. So we've already had a couple minutes. We're going to go ahead and start the clock. 3 minutes till voting closes. So it is down between Jjamjim and KRX. KRX with his full, complete city, fully connected on both sides. The multiple different districts, the multiple different residential areas, the industrial areas, the attention to detail when it came to road layout, all very well executed. And then looking back over at Jjamjim, a real complete small city. Now, not exactly the most realistic city. As Eddie mentioned, the 90-degree bend in the freeway, not something you typically find. Or I guess it's not a freeway. I guess it is just an avenue. But in either case, you probably don't find elevated 90-degree turns very often. But realism aside, in terms of actual creative design, I don't want to be biased. He's done a great job here. He's absolutely done a great job, I would say. I like the color scheme that KRX has come out with, too. This bright green color, I think, matches the vibe of the map very well. It goes very well for what they were looking for, what KRX was looking for. I think it looks pretty clean. Yeah, I'm not gonna influence the vote. I don't think. Hopefully not. But we got another minute 30 out there, so definitely go make sure you get your vote in. If you have not voted yet, minute 30 left, Jen, until it closes. So, yeah, that link in chat. You did get that over to the other streamers, correct? Individualism is an amazing thing, allowing even more beauty and style. Variety is the spice of life. And as hard as it is to choose... Oh, go ahead.
Did the polls make it into all the... Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
They
I
did?
think
Okay.
I think it just now made it into Jedi's. I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah, because see, I wasn't sure if Ezilii and Jedi would post it there. They may just be like,
Yeah.
F this guy, I'm done. I'm
No.
shutting stream.
No,
Like,
no.
you know, I don't know. But
And I'm actually watching Jedi stream. Like, the more his city fills out, the more I'm just like, man, if he had just had a little bit more
dude.
time.
oh, I know. And I can see the vision he had going for it because he had so many of the key buildings already down. Like, all he had to do was demand master it up.
Let's do part 2 and give Ezilii and Jedi like another 2 hours.
Right? We're going to do an extended city build competition here tonight.
City and 2 snaps.
Okay. Cool. Thank you for the confirmation there, little Atari. Well, 15 seconds left. I don't think it's going to change much more. For all you folks out there who did vote, you've probably already seen the vote. But as this clock ticks down, it would take 16 votes for KRX to win this, and that's just simply not going to happen. KRX going to lose this with a 50-34 vote going in favor of Jjamjim.
Wow.
Our victor here tonight, Jjamjim, taking this one down his first time in the city speed build competition, and he's taking the W here today. I got to go congratulate this man, so I will be back here with you two in just a second.
Sounds good.
Yo. That long, awkward yo. The very, very long. You're muted? Ah, there's
Okay,
the
there we
laugh.
go. Sorry,
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah, I was
yeah.
like, I see you talking, and I'm not sure if you know.
No,
Okay.
Discord's hard. Discord's hard. You
Yeah.
know?
No, I get it.
Yep.
I
Yep.
still haven't figured it out. It's been years. Well, congratulations, man. You won the first ever competition for you like this.
Dude, thank you, man.
Isn't that
That's very
amazing?
kind.
Yo, I gotta say, I love the touch of doing the cul-de-sacs there. I think that changed the variance of the city so much. So
Totally did. Yeah, absolutely. I really love it. I really loved the cul-de-sacs. I sort of create my own, but they're just they end up being like little roundabouts sort of.
Right.
But these assets really kind of changed the game on that. So I don't have to build as many little tiny roundabouts and shrink them using Move It and stuff, you know.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, cool, man.
Well, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, chat. Appreciate it. That's really awesome. Hey, dude, listen, honestly, it was super cool to be a part of this. It was really stressful.
Oh, I
It
bet.
was really stressful. It takes me a while. I'm so used to like taking a while to figure out how I'm going to structure stuff and put it together. And so I'm not used to this. Totally changed how I wanted to do it. But what I was really trying to focus on after a while, and when I kind of knew the time in my head, was, okay, how can I build something that's, compact and still feels complete in a way? And that ended up just kind of shifting my focus to something like that. So I had plans. There's some structural plans here for future things, but I knew I had to just like focus in and decide what it was going to be. And I'm really happy with what I built, and that's cool. So
yeah, I think you just encapsulated so many different varying aspects of City Skylines. You got parks, you got cul-de-sacs, you've got spread out residential, you've got tight residential, you've got a canal, you've got a downtown area. Like, you've incorporated everything into just one tile, essentially. And I think that was an incredible feat and a well-earned victory from you, man.
Well, thank you, dude. I appreciate it. Lemon Pops, that's awesome. I appreciate you saying that.
For sure.
That's awesome. Thanks for hosting, dude. It was a lot of fun, and I'm excited to go back and look at the other cities because I didn't get a chance to look at anybody's. That's all I was thinking the whole time. I was like, I wonder what everyone else is building.
Oh yeah. No, I totally understand that. I always go back and watch all the VODs because even casting it, I don't really get a chance to pay attention to everybody's details. So congratulations, man. I hope you get that giveaway out to your audience.
Yep, we're gonna do some marbles. We're gonna do some marbles after this and do a little giveaway. So
cool. Well, good luck and have a great rest of your stream, dude.
Awesome. Thank you, Lemon Pops. Appreciate it, dude.
All right. And once again, I want to thank you, Slayer. Thank you, Eddie, for coming on here. I'm going to go ahead and cut you guys loose too, and just wrap this up with stream. But thank you guys so much for coming on. Today was an absolute blast. And yeah, it was really impressive. I love the feedback that you guys brought. I love the dynamic that you had here today. And I think that the audience really enjoyed it too. And yeah, happy to have you guys on.
Yeah, I hope, Eddie, I hope you'll be game for another one, man. That was a lot of fun. Thank you, Livin, for having us.
For sure. My pleasure, man. My pleasure. And you guys have a great night.
You too.
Bud. Take care, guys.
Okay. And we're down to just me. It's just you and I, chat. We're alone now. And by alone, I mean alone. I'm all alone. Cool event. Hey, thank you so much for coming out for it, dude. I hope you had a great time. Cuboid, thank you, dude. Brainless Society, I hope you had a great night. Yo, Pretzo Elf. Next, a one tile competition. Yo, we got some ideas for some future competitions. Okay. I'm going to talk to Paradox once more about this and see if maybe they have some ideas that they'd like to work through. Maybe some specific builds that we could do. But that's all, it's in the air right now. So I promise you there will be more speed build competitions. I'm probably going to do the next one early in December, like either the first week of December. If I'm not able to do it the first week of December, we're going to go to January because I know holiday season coming up. A lot of people are going to be gone. Did I win? Lomi, that's the question. So if you have not hit !enter in chat yet, you are not currently entered to win the city's Skylines giveaway. So, right now, last chance, !enter in chat, and you can get in. Last chance, because we're going to be wrapping it up here in just a few minutes. And yo, Cuboid, I had a great time, dude. I hope everybody else had a great time too. I got so many great people coming through here tonight. Token, I didn't even say hi to you, dude. Musty, I didn't say hi to you either. Team JJJ, my boy done it. Yo, my pick, who do you think, Quan? I mean, I jerked him pretty hard there. I shouldn't say that. I love Jjamjim City. I think that he encapsulated what I wanted to see come from this event. I think that everybody else's builds were wonderful. I'm not in any way dissing them. I think that they all have their unique styles, but I think they're too big. I think that these guys are going a little too big with it, and it's not allowing them to put that same attention and detail down that Jjamjim was able to. And I think that the audience even agreed that Jjamjim incorporating all those different facets of a city into one spot and giving everybody the full picture, I think that's what's ultimately going to be winning these competitions in the future. So hopefully everybody can take that away and plan accordingly. Because I really feel like that's the winning strategy. But of course, I don't compete in these. So, god damn it, Quan. We're not entering 41. I love him a lot, but I legit prefer to City. You voted for him too? Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be biased. I love KRX's City. I mean, KRX did a great job. He definitely was able to flesh it out more. And Imperial Jedi, I mean, had he been able to have another hour on that city, I really think that it would have blown Jjamjim's out of the water. And I mean that. I mean that because if he had had another hour to work on that, the scale would have been equally as detailed and amazing as Jjamjim's, except for bigger. And I think that is ultimately the strategy. I mean, if you can make it bigger, then make it bigger. But yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic. I loved all the builds. Oh, the eyesore, the 90-degree 4-lane road. Yeah, that was a little strange. And I think that he could have possibly incorporated that differently. But I think the way that he built up around it, the way he sort of buried the traffic circle so you didn't see like an ugly tangled mess of roads underneath, the trees sort of covered it up. I think he did a lot of things to mitigate the ugliness of that. And that's, of course, my opinion. Rook Sauce, yo, I'm not denying you at all, dude. I'm not denying you at all. Thank you so much for coming in and see me back on track. Yeah, I mean, it's 5 p.m. It's not exactly normal stream time for me, but we are here. So I want to get this giveaway done. So last chance. If you want a chance to win City Skylines, !enter right now, because I'm going to close it here in like 15 seconds. Need that 90 turned out. Yo, yeah, Rook Sauce. We were doing the City Skylines competition today, so that was kind of what had us on early today. But I got to go meet my dad, Lomi. My dad drove like 6 hours to get down to meet me, and he's sitting at a restaurant literally right now waiting for me. So I'm gonna try to get out of here as soon as possible. But I haven't gotten a chance to talk to you. I've been live for almost 3 hours and I haven't talked to anybody. So I feel I gotta get my words out real quick. You don't want to hear my shit. Truth. All right, we're closing this giveaway. Everybody who's entered, get ready. Drum roll, please. Drum roll, please. Shirley rocks. Shirley rocks with the pay-to-win entry. Are you in it? Are you here? We'll give Shirley about a minute. If Shirley doesn't respond, we'll pick the next. She is not. Somebody might go tell her. I mean, I'll give her just a minute in case somebody rushes to another chat and tells her. I never went. Have you entered, Annie? And Annie, I didn't say hi to you either. You didn't enter. You're not even in it. You told her, Brainless? Yeah, I figured somebody might go tell. Oh, it's too late now. It's too late. Hey, Shirley. Shirley, yo, you won. She made it. All right, cool. Let me, God, I got too many things here. Got way too many windows open. Let me go ahead and crack this window open. And we're going to go. Surely rocks. I'm going to whisper you this game code. The final game code to give away here today. And congratulations. You are officially the winner. Jumping between everyone's channel. Yeah, I mean, it's a good chance to win. I mean, the other guys I don't think have done their giveaways yet. I think Jjamjim said he's going to be popping over to Marbles. He's going to be going over to Marbles. Let's see who's still alive of this set. Oh, so KRX went to Marbles. Jjamjim is still chilling there. Let's see. Who's got more viewers? Let's raid the smaller one. Jjamjim probably got less, fewer. Yo, Lomi, gifting that sub over to Shirley. Thank you so much, dude. And yeah, thank you everybody today. All the follows, all the subs, the bits, the fucking, like everything today. Everything today has been absolutely insane. You guys have really been amazing. And I really hope you enjoy this event. I really do. If you enjoy this, tweet about it. Tell people. Tell your friends. Talk about it on Reddit. Because I want to see this grow. I'd love to see this on television, for God's sake. And if we can get enough people watching, it could be on television. It could be. It's really that simple. If you can put together a good enough show that people would want to buy it, then it can be sold to network television, and we can literally do it on TV. So, pretty fantastic. He usually has less. Yeah, I think he's at. Yeah, either way, we'll hit him with the raid. Jjamjim? I'm doing it. Cool. Yeah, so we're going to go hit Jjamjim with the raid. If you guys haven't followed yet and you did enjoy the stream, make sure you hit that follow button. Yo, Silver Architect, thank you so much for that follow, man. I appreciate that. I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to use one of your maps. We ended up not using anybody's map today. It all fell apart. Everything fell apart last minute. And yeah, Mystic, I'm sorry you showed up right at the end, but I'll catch you tomorrow, dude. I'll be on tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Pacific time. I appreciate everybody being here, and I got to go meet my dad. So I love y'all. Enjoy this raid. Enjoy this fantastic streamer, and I will see you tomorrow, 7 p.m. Pacific time. Goodbye.
Out of date. Please close, restart the game. Okay. PB launcher. Oh my gosh, Lemon Pops, thank you for the raid, dude. Thank you for the raid. I promise to dominate all of you. The token squirrel, boom. Welcome in, friends. Welcome in. Wait a minute. Wait, hold on a second here. Got some music here. Lemon Pops, dude, thank you for the raid, brother. So much love. Holy crap. Seriously, guys, this is overwhelming. This is extremely overwhelming. Jedi was having the exact same problem with marbles. Interesting. Lomi the homie, thank you for the follow. Eventually, in about 6 minutes or so, you will see that notification. It will come through. You just have to wait. You just have to wait for it. Oh, could he not open it up right now? Because what it's telling me is that there is no update. Oh no, can we not play marbles? Can we not play marbles? Well, then we're just gonna have to do a traditional giveaway here.